Yeah, this is case number 76 on the calendar in the matter of Locke versus Vondrack. Parties have been sworn in. Judge, you may be seated. Folks, have seats, please.
What is your first name, Mr. Vlock?
Ryan.
Ryan? How old are you?
20.
And you? What's your first name?
Jason.
How old are you, Jason?
21.
Oh, okay. Mr. Vlock, according to your complaint, the defendant assaulted you outside of a bar after you had been drinking together and doing some sort of a beer game inside the bar. Is that right?
It was a duplex, a house.
It was a house?
Yes, duplex.
Duplex?
Yeah.
What I find interesting is that you claim he assaulted you and you were severely injured. Is that right?
Yes.
So you must have been in a lot of pain.
Yes, Your Honor.
Must have had a lot of suffering.
Yes.
So one would think that you think that your pain and suffering is worth something.
Yes.
Could you tell me why you're only suing him for $500?
I didn't really understand the amounts you can get, and I didn't want to.
Well, you know the difference between $500 and $5,000, don't you?
Yes.
Well, were you in pain $500 worth or $5,000 worth?
I'd say it's
maybe $2,500.
I'd say $2,500. It would be up.
But it wouldn't be $5,000.
No.
Maybe it could be $2,300. Could it be $2,300?
Yeah.
Ryan.
Yes.
Maybe $2,300.
Yes, Your Honor.
Now tell me when this drinking party happened in the duplex.
I believe it was in October 28th.
You believe it was October 28th?
Yeah.
Well, is there anything that you have that would make you sure it was October 28th?
I had the case report and the ticket right here. Yeah, October 28th.
A ticket report?
Yeah, I have.
What kind of ticket, sir?
The ticket that the police officers issued the defendant.
Did you get one too?
Yes.
You got one too? What
Yes,
was your ticket for?
It was disturbing the peace, but it was dropped.
Okay. So tell me all about the party.
Well, we were playing a drinking game called Beer Die.
Called what?
Beer Die, like the dice.
Beer Die. Now, I would probably understand what that was, but I know that Bird wouldn't understand that. So I want you to explain to Bird exactly how that game is played.
You give a partner, and 4 people play it, and it's like a rectangular table, and you sit on each end with cups, for each person having a cup that goes in the corner, and you try and take a die and sink it into the other team's cup, or get it so it hits the table and they don't catch it to get a point.
And then what do you do with the beer?
Drink it. If you sink it, you got to chug it, and if it hits the cup, you got 5 drinks to a cup. You just got to drink each time it hits the cup and refill.
And how many people were playing this moronic game?
It was just us 4. It's only 4 at a time. There are people in the garage watching.
So there were 4 of you, and in your group of 4
Yeah.
that was playing this game, he was one of the 4?
Yeah, but not. His other partner's not here.
But he was in the 4?
Yes, he was.
That's just, he was in the 4. And how long had you been playing this game?
We played 3 games. It maybe lasted an hour to an hour and a half.
And during that time, everybody was dying and chug-a-lugging?
No, it wasn't much drinking going on. We were gambling for money, so it was more intense going.
Okay. Were you working at the time, Ryan?
No, I'm a full-time student.
Student. Did they teach you this in a course?
No.
Course curriculum?
No, ma'am.
No, it is not. What school did you go to at that time, Ryan?
The UNL, University of Nebraska, Lincoln.
And what about Jason over here? Was he a student too?
Yes.
Yes, I am.
And whose duplex were you in?
A mutual friend of ours.
Who won the game?
They won the first 2, and they wanted to leave, but I talked them into staying for another one, go double or nothing, and we won that one, so it broke even.
Go Nebraska. So then the game is over.
Yeah.
Everybody leaves?
No, when we won right away, the defendant got up. He was kind of upset, and he was kind of talking how he liked to fight and how he kind of wanted to fight. And I was kind of in the heat of the moment, and I got up and I had words with him in the garage. We step outside, and he takes his shirt off right away. He was in front of me. And then I get out there, and we had some words. And then the owner of the house comes out and separates it and sends us on our way, or at least me and my friend on the way. So we continue to walk away from the fight, and we get to the sidewalk right before the street starts, and his partner that he was playing with, I don't know if he jogged down or he got up in front of us and stopped us, and he was trying to instigate a fight between me and the defendant, calling me and trying to get me to go back, and just trying to instigate it so I go back. I didn't want anything to do with that. I was already told to leave, so I just, after asking him twice to get out of the way, I just gently pushed him. It wasn't...
Gently pushed him.
Just to move out of the way, and we continued walking.
Gently.
It was just...
Okay,
it wasn't...
Go ahead, Ryan.
Well, I made it right to the curb when I heard footsteps coming, and I managed to turn, and right when I turned, I was just blindsided and taken out. And I was ended up, I guess...
You were what out?
I was, like, knocked out, basically, for a while. I was...
Well, taken out and knocked out are 2 different things.
Yeah.
Taken out, they don't say in Nebraska.
Oh, I don't... Well, yeah, well, I guess it was a tackle from what I hear, but
Spend more time in your English class, Ryan.
I'm an engineer major. I don't.
You still have to know how to speak English.
All right.
Go ahead.
Well, like I said, he tackled me, and I guess when he was going to tackle me, I turned right into his fist, which produced 9 stitches.
So you weren't blindsided. He was going to tackle you.
I just turned and I just got clocked, so I didn't.
So you don't know what happened.
I guess he kind of saw it a little bit, but I just turned. I heard footsteps coming. I just turned and just was. I thought it was a punch from what I hear, but I was told later that he was going to tackle me, and I turned into it. So I don't know how he was tackling me, but it was the fist right to my eye, though.
And you got 9 stitches, and you were really injured, and your clothes got ripped, and all that other kind of nasty. All right, Jason, let me hear your version of this.
Okay, we were playing the beer dye game, right? We won the first 2 games. He was kind of upset about it, you know, talking trash, calling us names, you know. We're just like, whatever. We were there to have a good time, you know. And we were going to leave, you know, take off, you know. And he's kind of.
Listen to me. I'm really sensitive about this. I want you to continue your testimony, and I want you to leave out the words "you know."
All right,
Now.
I'll do my best.
No. Do your best isn't good enough. You do it.
Judge Judy continues in a moment.
At least one other guy kicked me in the head, knocked me out unconscious. I have a picture of my face.
Care about it.
Okay. Then from
It's
there.
not that I don't care. It's just that I don't care.
And later today,
He was yelling. We woke my effing neighbors up, and one of his friends had apologized to me, and Mr. Booth yelled, "Sorry, hell, I fell."
We were pretty intoxicated.
real cases, real people. Judge Judy. Ryan Vlock says college schoolmate Jason Vondruk assaulted him during a beer drinking game. Jason says Ryan hit him first.
Go ahead.
Yeah, I lost my story. Okay. We were,
He was trashing you.
yeah, we were going to take off, you know, and he was kind of upset that he... Okay, we were upset. He was upset that he lost the game, and we were going to take off, and he talked us into staying. He was kind of upset, so, you know, we kind of felt bad for him. And we stayed for another game. They won. He was still calling us names after the game, you know, and it got taken outside, and the party was kind of in the garage and outside. There were people in the garage, and there were people outside, like, on the cement. And I look over, and he pushed my friend, like he said. He pushed my friend. It wasn't a gentle shove. It was a push.
Of course it was a push.
Yeah, so I went in to get in between it, and I backed up my friend, and next thing I know, I get hit in the head. And I turned around and clocked him, and I took him to the ground, put him in a headlock.
Now you got hit in the head by whom?
By
You
him.
don't know?
By him, from behind.
Well, how do you know that it was him if it was from behind?
Well, because he was right here, my friend was right here, and I was backing him up, and he was the only guy that was behind me, so
you
it was him.
assumed it was him?
No, I didn't assume it was him, just because he was the only one that it could have been, because he was the only one that was behind me. But anyways, after we got to the ground, and
You got to the ground?
we both
Who was
went
on
to
the
the ground. Just me and him were on
After
the.
he tackled me.
Me and him
So
were
you
on the
were on the
ground.
ground.
We were wrestling around on the ground, right? And then his witness over there, and at least one other guy jumped in and kicked me in the head, knocked me out unconscious. I have a picture of my face from when I was unconscious.
You care about it.
Okay. And then from
It's
there...
not that I don't care. It's just that I don't care.
Right. Right. And from there, I was knocked out, and Lena saw it. She was trying to hold him back because my friend said that even after I was knocked out on the ground unconscious, he was still going after me and two of his friends, and 2 or 3 guys were kicking me on the ground, kicking me in the head, and it's a pretty graphic picture that shows you. It'll show my face, but you don't care. But that's pretty much the deal, and she knows the rest. After I was knocked out, the ambulance came and took me to the hospital.
What
and
about the plaintiff? Was he taken to the hospital too?
Yeah, my friend took me to the emergency room.
Uh-huh. And that's where you got your stitches?
Yes. Can I go over some? We were never wrestling on the ground, and I never punched him. He didn't even get in between me and his friend. All it was his friend got in our way. I pushed him out of the way, and we kept walking. He never entered that scene at all until we got to the end of the street and ran up on me.
Ryan, you had been drinking for at least 2 hours.
The police showed up, and they let us drive.
The police let you drive?
Yeah, we weren't. That's why I mean we didn't drink too much, and the police let us. Drove me right to the emergency room right from the scene.
Was he playing too?
Yeah.
Maybe they have a higher threshold in Nebraska. You don't let a 20-year-old college student who's been drinking for 2 hours, who's just been in a brawl, get into your car and drive anywhere. That would seem to be foolish, wouldn't it?
Yes.
Now, Ryan, would this whole incident have happened with Jason and ambulance and stitches if you hadn't been playing this stupid beer game?
It would never happen.
What does that tell you, Ryan?
Shouldn't play it.
And what does it tell you about wasting my time and the time of courts with your stupidity? I don't care if his face looked like it was used as a football in a pro game. The two of you deserved what you got. You were behaving like idiots. You're supposed to be intelligent college students. You're wasting your time with a stupid game. Both of you said things that you shouldn't have. Both of you were ready to fight with each other before this started. You both had attitude, and it got out of hand. What do you want from courts that have important things to deal with?
Well, I understand if it was a mutual conflict or if we were at it, but we were walking away, we were going towards the car, and we were leaving. We were done with the situation, and like I said, he ran up from behind after his friend tried to get...
No, listen to me, Ryan. According to your testimony, the first person that put their hands on another person was you.
Yes.
Was you. You say, I just tapped him out of the way and told him to move. Now, what if when you put your hands on this other person, because he had had too much to drink, he fell backwards, hit his head against a rock, and died? Would you have been responsible?
Yes.
You would have said to me, I just touched him. He was drinking, and he fell over, right? It would have been an accident, right? Just the whole thing got out of hand, right? So on a scale of $1 to $2,300 for your pain and suffering, what do you think you're entitled to?
$2,300. Like the scratches I had lasted forever. I had a black eye, the 9 stitches, the lacerations from the concrete when we landed on it.
Now, my next question is, this happened some time ago.
Yes.
How many times have you played this beer game since then?
We haven't played it.
Perfect. That's your lesson. Your case is dismissed. That's all.
Parties are excused. You may step out.
I think it's pretty pathetic.
Basically, I witnessed Ryan attacking my friend Jason.
He totally hit me from behind, a cheap shot.
They got a little psycho from drinking and losing.
He got it worse than I did, so that's all I care about, I guess.
And now the next case.
All parties in the matter of Link versus Booth. Step forward, please.
Business owner Joyce Link is suing her neighbor, carpenter John Booth, for damage to her vehicle. Joyce says a drunken John fell against her van.
Miss Link, the defendant is a neighbor of yours.
Yes, ma'am.
And it is your claim that he and a bunch of his drunken friends were coming home one evening and fell on your car or van, causing a dent in the van.
Yes.
Mr. Booth says it wasn't him.
Okay.
So tell me when this happened.
It was on a Saturday night, February 16th, 2002, around 12:31 a.m. in the morning. Me and my husband and children were in our house asleep, and we were awoken by some loud voices outside. So we got up, me and my husband, and looked out our bedroom window, and it was Mr. Booth and 4 of his friends. They were drunk, falling into our van and my next-door neighbor's bushes. And we proceeded to go outside, me and my husband, and I asked them to please get off my vehicle. And the next thing I know, Mr. Booth is yelling about, you know, him and his friends.
No, what was he saying to you, Miss Link? I've heard everything.
He was yelling that we woke my effing neighbors up, and one of his friends had apologized for being on our vehicle. He told me that he was sorry, and Mr. Booth yelled, "Sorry, hell, I fell." I have pictures of my vehicle and my neighbor's bushes that happened that night.
Okay, can I see them, please?
The next morning, we proceeded to get John Booth's attention on the matter, and no one would come to the door, so my husband had wrote a note and taped it to his front door. Then on Monday morning, I was on my way out, and Mr. Booth's wife had approached me.
What was the note? What did the note say?
That they needed to get in touch with us about the damages that was done to our van due to him and his friends being drunk that Saturday night.
Mm-hmm.
And Mr. Booth's wife, seen the damages, and she said that she would let her husband know and to get an estimate and the damages would be taken care of.
Did Mr. Booth ever contact you?
Yes, that evening. Again, I was outside, and he approached me, and he apologized for what happened and told me that him and his friends don't remember anything. They were too drunk. Again, he did apologize, and he said to go get an estimate that he would take care of the damages. So I did go get an estimate, and I left it on their door because that's how we were notifying each other. So I did go get the estimate, and I left it taped to his front door.
Okay. Mr. Booth?
So far, everything's semi-right. Yeah, we did go out and get drunk. We got a little carried away. The wife was feeling sick, so we went up to the neighborhood bar so I wouldn't bother her. We were up there partying, got a little carried away, come on home. We were pretty intoxicated, okay, yeah. And when we passed her house, the guy that actually did the damage, him and his girlfriend were lagging behind me. I was already in my driveway when her car got damaged.
Were these people that you were out drinking with, were they men or women?
Both. We were all couples.
Well, not you weren't a couple. Your
No, I
wife
was in front.
Shh. Let me finish, sir. You weren't a couple. Your wife was sick.
Yes.
That means there were 5 of you.
Yes.
And where were these 2 couples going from the bar?
To my house.
What were they going to do in your house?
They're going to spend the night.
So they were invited guests of
Yes.
yours. And you escorted them to the bar?
Mm-hmm.
And then you all got drunk.
Mm-hmm.
And then you were escorting your friends, invitees of yours, back to your home for the purposes of sleeping there.
Yeah.
Is that right?
Yes.
Then I don't give a rat's behind who it was that fell on the van, sir. You're responsible.
Okay,
Okay! That's good. That's what you should have said 3 months ago. Mr. Booth, in the last few months, how much money have you sent them towards the repair of the car?
I don't feel like I sent anything.
What do you mean
I
you don't
didn't do the
feel like?
damage.
Didn't you just follow what I said? Didn't you just follow what I said?
Okay, I was escorting him back to the house. He fell into the van.
You were responsible for your guests. If your guests become rowdy, and as a result of their being rowdy, cause damage to the neighbor's property, they don't have to go around and hustle and find out the names and addresses of your guests.
I gave it to her.
You're responsible, and if you feel as if your friends are responsible, you go get the money from them.
I was trying.
I was trying. What do you do for a living?
I'm a carpenter.
The lowest estimate that you have, Miss Link, is $519.66.
Yes, ma'am.
Judgment for the plaintiff. If you have friends, you make sure your friends are well taken care of, sir. And if they cause damage, you are responsible. That's all.
Now, this is case number 30 on the calendar in the matter of McCahill versus Harrison. Parties have been sworn in, Judge. You may be seated. Folks have seats.
Would you take the child out, Bert?
Sure thing, Judge.
Thank you.
Young man.
Okay.
This way.
Ms. McCahill, your suit against the defendant has to do with charges that you claim were false that she made against you. You had a trial with regard to those charges. You were found not guilty.
Yes.
And you believe she should pay for all of your legal expenses that you had to defend yourself. I gather that the relationship that you had with the defendant was that she had been your babysitter for a relatively short period of time. Then you and your husband divorced, and your husband was awarded custody of your child. Is that right?
Yes, ma'am.
And your former husband hired the defendant to watch your child.
Yes, ma'am.
At some point, according to you, your child told you that during a visitation, probably, that the defendant had hit him.
Yes, ma'am.
And you went to the defendant's house to confront her about that.
Yes, ma'am.
There was some sort of an incident. You say that there was really a non-incident. Shortly thereafter, you were contacted by the police and told that she had filed charges against you, and that precipitated the trial for trespass and damage to property.
Yes, ma'am.
The defendant is counterclaiming for some of the damage that she says that you did to the property, correct?
Yes.
Okay. When did you and your husband divorce?
In April of 2000.
And when was he awarded custody?
At that time,
And when did your child allegedly report to you that the defendant had hit him?
on October 17th of 2001.
And what did your child tell you?
He arrived at my house for my birthday, and when he walked in the door, he said, "Mom, Jennifer hit me again."
How old is he?
He is 8 years old.
Okay.
At the time, he was 7.
Okay.
And those were the first words that came out of his mouth when he walked in my door.
Jennifer hit me again.
Yes.
Did you ask him any questions about it?
Yes, I said, where did she hit you? And he replied, in my head. And I said, well, what for? And he said, because I would not pick up poop with my hand.
Now, when did you discuss this with the child's father?
I had discussed it with David, and he said that it did
On
not
the
happen.
17th?
No, the next day.
On the 18th of October?
Right.
Okay.
And I told him that Brendan had told me that Jennifer had hit him.
And he said it didn't happen?
Yes.
When did you go over to her house?
I went over to her house on the 18th.
And who did you go over with?
I went over with my friend. I was upset because, you know, she had hit Brendan. So I went over there to discuss it. I walked up her driveway. She met me in her carport. And I said to her, Jennifer, Brendan told me that you had hit him. And she started saying that I was crazy and that the reason Brendan acted the way he did was because of me. And after that, her and had words.
Why would you get involved in this at all?
Because when she started saying that I was crazy, stepped forward and started defending me.
And then what happened?
I was ready to go. And when we were going out to my truck, as soon as we got to my truck, I looked up and she was saying, come, if you want a piece of me, come, you know, she was doing this. She was, come on, get a piece of me. That's what she was yelling at me. And we got in my truck and we left. And we went straight to the Brighton police station where I tried to press charges against her for hitting Brendan, but was unable to because Brendan was not in my physical custody at the time.
When were you notified by the police that you were the subject of an arrest warrant?
A month later, day before Thanksgiving, I was on the phone with my mother, and my ex-husband got a hold of my mother and told her that I had a warrant for my arrest. And how he knew, I don't know. And so I called my lawyer immediately after that and told my lawyer that I had a warrant for my arrest.
Okay. Now, you subsequently went to trial, is that right?
Yes, I did.
The defendant testified at the trial?
Yes, she did.
And did you testify?
Yes.
And was there a jury trial?
Yes, there was.
And the jury came back with a not guilty verdict?
Yes, I did.
Okay. Now, Ms. Harrison, I would like you to tell me your version of the events, please.
Okay. On October 18th, Katie did come to my home. The incident that she is referring to, that Brendan was referring to, actually happened in June of that year, where he had stepped in dog poop out in the yard and walked into the house, and the kids are supposed to take their shoes off. And he didn't take his shoes off, and he had got dog poop on the carpet. And instead of telling the kids that they did something stupid, or I don't say that, we go, duh, what'd you do that for? And then he usually goes, yeah, duh, yeah, I did that. And that was the incident. She comes to my place in October, which is 5-6 months later, and accuses me of hitting her son and started cussing and swearing at me, telling me, who did I think I was by hitting her son, and that they were going to kick my if I ever touched her son again. I said, do you want to hear the story or not? I said, I'll tell you what happened. No, I believe my son. You hit my son, and this other girl was MFing me just as much as she was, just screaming at me. And she has a background and a stability of many mental health problems. She's been in many mental health facilities, and I know what she's capable of. That's why I stood in my doorway and never even went out into the carport with them. I just had the door open trying to tell them to leave. And they would not leave. They kept calling me every name in the book, told me if I went out at nighttime, don't go out at nighttime because I would never come back home, that they were going to kill me if I ever touched her son again. I told her she was crazy. I told her to leave my property many times. At that point in time, the other girl starts with they said they were going to kick my ass, and I said, you in what army? The two of us will take you down right now. And I said, both of you just leave. That's when she kicked cabinets that were there that my husband had brought home from work, and she picked up one of my lawn chairs and threw it at me. And I shut the door because I told her I was going to call the police. Well, that's when I started walking up into my kitchen, and I heard a big bang. And I saw my neighbor girl a minute later walking across my yard, and I had gone outside, and she said, what was that? What's going on? And she
Is this your neighbor?
Yes. And she had seen Katie and the other girl go into their car. She had heard the noises. And between the time that they went to the police station, they went by my house 4 different times, screaming,
Well, what
F
kind
you.
of damage did she do in your
There was
house?
a great big dent. It looks like they punched the car. There was a great big dent on the side of my right passenger door.
Judge Judy continues in a moment.
She stood up in court and told the judge, I want a paternity test taken on my oldest son because he's not even the father.
And was that done?
Yes, and unbeknownst to the father, he was not the child's father. And the courts gave her custody of him.
And later today,
All right, this is going to be very fast. The defendant, who was a former boyfriend, smashed your cell phone.
Yes.
Good. Give me a bill. On the flip side, your counterclaim is, just let me get there, sir. I mean, I have other things to do today.
real cases, real people. Judge Judy. Kathy McCahill says when former babysitter Jennifer Harrison slapped her son, she attempted to confront her. Kathy says upon leaving, Jennifer told police she vandalized her car.
Oh. Tell me your name, please.
Donnella Snyder.
Ms. Snyder, did you witness any of these events?
I witnessed the loud noise.
Tell me what you heard.
There's a house in between us, and I just heard this big boom. And I was like, oh my gosh. And I just went out my door, and it sounded like it came from Jennifer's house. So I instantly started walking over there, and as I was walking over there, Katie was hurrying up and getting in a truck that was waiting there, which there was a driver. And they hurried up and sped off and took off. And I'm like, oh my gosh. So I went over there, and I said, Jennifer, what's wrong? And she was shaking and upset, and she had the phone in her hand. And her furniture, lawn furniture, was all tousled around. And then she started telling me what was going on.
Okay. Ms. McCahill, did you touch any of the defendant's lawn furniture?
No, I didn't touch anything.
Just a second. Did touch any of her furniture?
I did. I didn't.
Did she throw it around?
She threw a chair between me and her. That was it.
All right. Ms. McCahill, I'm going to give you a couple of short lessons.
Okay.
You brought there for the purposes of being your support. So you are responsible for her actions.
Yes, I am.
Well, I'm glad you agree with that. So if she caused any damage and it wasn't you, it's just as if you caused the damage, because you brought her there. You brought her there to do exactly what she did, which was to make trouble. And I don't believe that you just walked into the defendant's house and said to her, why did you hit my son? I don't believe you said it that way.
Okay.
I believe that there was a lot of vile language, and I believe that there was a lot of screaming and yelling, and you had no right being there. There were children there, and there are ways to deal with this kind of a problem without this kind of confrontation. You deal with it. If you can't file a police report, which I don't understand, then you call Child Protective Services.
I did.
And I assume that as a result of calling Child Protective Services, there were no charges filed. Is that right?
I tried to file charges against her. They wouldn't let me because Brendan was not in my custody.
That's not what I said. Child
Right.
Protective Services doesn't care
I went
in
to
whose
Family
custody.
Services, and they investigated.
And found what? Do
I
you have the
have the
report?
evidence to that,
Can I
yes.
see it, please?
This is the police report that I did make at the Sheriff's Department after this happened. Here, also. And this is, she did call 2 months later, in December. She called DCFS complaining about me hitting and abusing her son. And DCFS did interview her and her son and found all of their statements to be uncreditable, and they dropped all of the allegations against me. And under the circumstances with her son, who has quite a lot of mental problems also, since the child's been back in her custody, he's tried to commit suicide.
When did the child go back into her custody?
Her attorneys and his attorneys, they were in court, and both attorneys advised her to just drop the child custody suit because the children were better off left with the father. They both have another son together. She stood up in court and told the judge, well, then I want a paternity test taken on my oldest son because he's not even the father.
And was that done?
Yes, it was, and unfortunately, and unbeknownst to the father, he was not the child's father. And the courts gave her custody of him,
Court had no other choice.
unfortunately for his sake.
That child was 8 at the time that he found?
7.
7. He found out that his father was not his father.
Right, and tore away from his brother. He was told that when he dropped him off for a weekend visit with her the next time that he only picked up Patrick and left Brendan there.
Do you think you caused enough trouble? Don't you think you caused enough trouble? Madam! I wouldn't come to court to cause any more trouble in any event. I'm going to handle this case very, very swiftly. The district attorney chose to prosecute this case. Clearly, the judge who heard the case had the opportunity at the end of the people's case, if they felt that there was no evidence against you, to dismiss the case on an initial motion that says there is not even sufficient evidence to go forward. The judge found that there was sufficient evidence to go forward and have you present your case. So the case ultimately went to trial. The jury did not find you innocent of the charges. I want you to clearly understand that.
I have the papers right here.
No. The jury did not find you innocent, Miss McCahill. The jury found you not guilty. There is a difference. Innocent means you didn't do it. Not guilty means not proven beyond a reasonable doubt. That is a serious difference.
Can I ask a question?
All right.
If I was to hit a dent in the van, don't you think it would have broke my hand?
I have no idea. Maybe you used your foot.
I did not.
In any event, you trespassed on her property. You threw around her lawn furniture. You touched her property because either you or your friend did it. But since you brought your friend, you're both equally as culpable. So that she had an absolute right to pursue her legal remedy. I haven't gotten to her counterclaim yet.
Judge Judy continues in a moment. And later today,
this is a bill from May 25th of 2000. So this was the bill for these two shirts.
Yeah.
You keep these bills?
Yeah, got to. Never know when this gonna happen.
real cases, real people. Judge Judy. Kathy McHale says when former babysitter Jennifer Harrison slapped her son, she attempted to confront her. Kathy says upon leaving, Jennifer told police she vandalized her car.
Okay. You want to continue with this counterclaim?
Yes, just for the damages done to my van.
I'd like to see photographs of it. So you have no case, Ms. McHale?
I don't have photographs. The district attorney just asked me to get an estimate for the
damages. Well,
damages.
I can't do anything without photographs. I have to make a judgment based upon the photograph. Physical evidence, not just an estimate.
I just
Ms.
have
Harrison.
the estimate and the repair bill that they repaired it.
She denies that she hit your car. In order for me to make any judgments as to whether or not this car was dented under what circumstances, I have to be able to look at it. That requires a photograph. So I'm not entertaining your counterclaim, which you would not have filed anyway, but for the fact that she filed this claim, which is nonsense. And I certainly hope that you and your son are getting as much therapy as you can for all the damage that you did. And I would keep a low profile if I were you, Miss McCahill. Don't file any more frivolous lawsuits. Your case is dismissed, that's all.
Parties are excused. You may step out.
I just wish she would just leave me alone.
I'm not going to have any contact with this person.
Stay away from me. She had no business ever being around me.
I have no wish to have any contact with this person.
I just feel terrible for what the boy is going through.
Brendan is doing really well. He's an honor roll student.
Really glad that the judge did take him out of the courtroom because I didn't want to have to say what I had to say in front of him.
And now the next case.
All parties in the matter of Vaughn versus Jackson. Step forward, please.
Cosmetology student Tanya Vaughn is suing her ex-boyfriend, cook Carver Jackson, for breaking her cell phone during an argument. Carver is countersuing, claiming Tanya threw his laundry in the dumpster.
All right, this is going to be very fast. Ms. Vaughn, according to your complaint, the defendant, who was a former boyfriend of yours, got into a snit about something, which I am totally disinterested in, and smashed your cell phone.
Yes.
Now, Mr. Jackson, you acknowledge that you smashed her cell phone.
Yeah.
The only question is how much it costs to fix it or to get a new one. Is that right?
Right.
Good. Give me a bill.
This is the bill for the cell phone, how much the cell phone costs.
Well, you can buy a cell phone for any amount. What kind did you have, madam?
I had a Samsung.
And how much did you pay for it?
$179.
Is that what you bought to replace the one he smashed?
I bought a whole new phone.
But is that what you paid, $179?
No.
What did you pay?
I paid $69.
Got a better deal?
Yes.
Good. So he's got to give you $69, right? Not $250 that you're suing for. $69. That's what you get for the new cell phone. That's what you have to pay for your temper. Now, on the flip side, you have a counterclaim.
Yeah.
Your counterclaim is, well, just let me get there, sir. I mean, I have other things to do today. On the flip side, it's your claim that you brought your laundry over to the plaintiff's house. You washed your laundry over there. Then you got into another argument with her. Police were called. You were escorted out of the house. You left your laundry there, and she threw your laundry in the dumpster. Is that right?
Yeah.
Is that right?
Yeah.
Yes. Did you throw his laundry in the
No, I
dumpster? What'd you do with his laundry?
He did not have his laundry over there. It was 2 shirts, and the only reason they went
That's
into
laundry. Okay, 2 shirts.
2 shirts, 2
Good.
button-down shirts.
Had he cleaned them or washed them at your house?
I don't know what he had done with them.
What did you do with them?
After he slashed my tires, I took them to the dumpster and threw them out.
Okay, so you threw out his shirts. You have bills for your shirts.
Yeah. Yeah. My pants too. Yeah.
No,
Just
I
a second.
didn't.
She said all she's got is shirts.
It was just two
Okay.
shirts.
Okay, I'm gonna take the shirt.
Good. 2 shirts.
Yeah, there's my receipt. It's for the jersey there. This one you can't see, so that one don't even count.
She said they were button-down shirts.
It was 2 jerseys.
2 jerseys.
2 jerseys and 2 pair of Dockers. Come on.
Okay, jerseys. They were $49.
48. Yep.
It says $49.98.
Come on. That's
Excuse
it.
me?
That's it.
Was that for 1 shirt or 2?
That's for 1.
So it was $100 for the 2.
Right.
When did this happen?
Back in March of last
Well, this is a bill.
year.
This is a bill from May 25th of 2000. So this
Right,
was the
that's
bill for
when I
these
bought
2
them.
shirts.
Yeah.
That
You keep
happened a
these
while.
bills?
Yeah, got to. Never know when this gonna happen.
I'm done. I'm really impressed. I'm really impressed that you kept the bill this long.
I got one longer than that, but it's faded on out.
All right.
But Your Honor, he wouldn't even have to worry
All
about
right,
it
so
if
you
he
had the
wouldn't have-
shirts for a couple of years, right?
Yeah.
Yes?
Yeah.
Right? Okay. So they lost a little bit of their value in it for a
No,
couple of years.
because I only wear them every blue moon. So they were still like new.
Really?
Yeah.
Okay. Then I'm going to give you the full cost of your shirts, $98. She gets $69, you get $98. The difference is $29. So you know what happens in this case? You get nothing, you get $29. Goodbye, go have a happy day.
Party guys, all rise. Now, this is case number 117 on the calendar in the matter of Ross versus Joseph. Parties have been sworn in, Judge. You may be seated.
All right, Miss Ross, you claim that the defendant, who was an ex-boyfriend of yours, owes you for a whole bunch of stuff.
Correct.
Some of it dates back to 1999. That's a motorcycle that you purchased. It was his motorcycle he was supposed to make payments on. We're going to leave that for a moment.
All right.
When did you and the defendant break up? Give me the date when you no longer were seeing each other as boyfriend and girlfriend.
Probably December of last year.
Now, according to your complaint, the major loan that you made to him, discounting the motorcycle, was when his father died. When was that?
August of last year.
So what was your involvement with him in August of last year?
Well, his family came to me, and I was close with his family.
But you weren't with him?
No, we were still together.
You were still together. While you were still together, as a couple, his father died.
Correct.
And his family came to you and said what?
Well, basically, Alex came to me, and based on their families getting together, they were a little short on money on paying for funeral expenses.
What did he say?
He said he needs to borrow some money. They were expecting to get some money from the father's account, but it hadn't come in. And as soon as it came in, he would give me the money back.
How much did you give him?
$1,500.
Is that correct, Mr. Joseph?
Yes, Your Honor, it is.
Did you give her back the money?
No, she never asked for it back, Your Honor.
Well, she's here. She's asking for it.
She had just told me not to worry about it. The family was in a tough spot. I did not come to her. She offered it to me.
Well, tell me your version of how that came about.
My father had died. We were $1,500 short of the funeral expenses.
Who's we?
My family.
Give me the members of your family that were short.
Myself. I mean, my aunt. It's not. He's not married or anything. My dad wasn't married. It was more about just my loan, I guess, not my family's.
Your what? Repeat that again. Your loan.
Well, okay, if you want to put it that way.
No, you just put it that way, sir. You just said it was my loan.
She came to me with the offer.
Isn't that what you just said to me? It was my loan to pay for my father's funeral.
That is what I just said to you.
Right. Now, did your father have an estate that was ultimately settled?
No.
Everybody dies with some money in the bank, sir. What happened to the money that he had that was in the bank?
He had $5,000 in the bank.
Right. What happened to that $5,000? Look at me.
It went towards the funeral expenses, Your Honor. It was $7,500 total.
$7,500 total, and he had $5,000 in the bank, and I'm sure you're fudging it just a little bit. So how much did you pay?
I paid $1,000, and Miss Ross paid $1,500.
How many children are there?
Myself, and I have a stepsister and a stepbrother.
What about them? Didn't they like him?
I was surprised they were at the funeral.
But they were there.
Yeah.
Well, as between his biological children and the plaintiff, who do you think ought to pay to bury him?
Oh, I definitely think that the biological children should.
Right! Now, in 1999, according to you, he wanted a motorcycle. You lent him money. How much was the motorcycle?
The total ended up being around $12,000.
How much did he pay you back?
He's probably made about $2,000, $3,000, somewhere in between there. I have a running tab. In addition to the motorcycle, there was other things that he said, oh, just tack it on to my payment. Just tack it on, just tack it on.
That's your problem. If you're going to be stupid and just keep tacking it on, a lot of it's your problem. Like the jacket that you bought for him for $400 so he could ride the motorcycle in 1999. Forget it. 3 years later, you don't come into court and waste my time with, I bought him a leather jacket so he would look handsome at driving his motorcycle. And he only paid you since 1999 about $2,000 or $3,000, according to you.
Correct.
And then there came a time when you took the motorcycle back.
Just about a month ago.
Tell me about that.
Well, he stopped paying since December of last year.
Why?
I never said I stopped paying.
Did you make a payment last month?
Before she took the motorcycle, yes.
You did?
Yes.
How much?
$300.
So is what you're telling me that you've made all the payments on the motorcycle?
Yes.
Really? How much a month? $300 a month?
Actually, it was $208 originally, and we added $100 for the other monies that were owed to her.
What other monies?
From the jacket. I added $100 for 4 months for the price of the jacket, which she's claiming I still owe her for.
So is what you're telling me, sir, that irrespective of the fact that you made all your payments, she took the motorcycle back?
She has actually taken the motorcycle twice, and my side of the story basically is, we were together. I decided I did not want to continue the relationship. When I didn't want to continue the relationship anymore, apparently she was hurt by it or what have you, wanted some sort of vengeance or whatever, and she decided to hit me where it hurts, because anybody that knows me knows that I love nothing like I love that motorcycle.
Mr. Joseph, you have not answered my question.
Okay, I apologize.
My question is, sir, is it your testimony that you have paid her each and every month since 1999 $208 and then $308 for the last almost 3 years?
Each month the bike was in my possession, Your Honor, yes. When she took it, I obviously did not pay for it.
Now, you say she took the bike twice, once last month, and for how long did she have the bike before that?
Maybe 4 months, 5 months, I'm not really sure, to be honest.
And why did she take the bike at that point, sir?
Because I decided to discontinue our relations.
Then why did she give it back?
Probably in hopes to somehow woo me back into the relationship. I don't know how to word it, to be honest. I mean...
That's a fair statement. That's a fair statement. Do you have proof, sir, of the monies that you paid her towards the bike?
No, I do not.
Okay. Now, she has the bike. Have you put an ad in the paper to sell it?
Yes, and I have not. I've had to reduce the price 3 times, and I have not had anyone come to see it, because he changed it and altered the motorcycle, and when I took it back, all I got was the motorcycle without all of its original parts, without everything.
So you have no idea how much you're going to get for it?
I'll maybe get $3,000 for it, if that.
Well, you don't know that.
No, I don't. I haven't got a single call on it.
I don't have any evidence, but I know, I looked in the cycle trader. It's probably around $4,500 is what she would get for it. Now, if I had it my way, I would continue to pay for the motorcycle, because it's very important to me. It's something that I've spent over 100 hours in the garage working on it, putting on these aftermarket parts, and it's all about... She's been hurt by me.
Well, are you
so she's
prepared
gonna
to
hit
say
me where
as
it
follows,
hurts.
sir, that if you can present proof of continued insurance and that you make regular payments in the amount of $300 a month?
I will not give him the bike back.
You won't?
No.
Because it's not about the money, it's about me not having the motorcycle.
He's completely disrespected me and told me, made threats, and it's beyond that now.
Judge Judy will continue in a moment. And later today...
I told her, unchain the dog, tell him to come home, he'll come home.
He says, just open the door, let him out, tell him Poppy's home, and he'll come home by himself.
Is that stupid?
No.
I mean, is there something wrong with you?
Real cases, real people. Judge Judy. Stacy Ross says ex-boyfriend Alex Joseph owes for a motorcycle and for a loan to bury his father.
Go ahead. I gave him many opportunities to took the bike away. Actually, he parked the bike in my garage because he couldn't afford it. And he said, do me a favor, having some rough times, keep the bike from me. I'll get my feet back on the ground. I'll give you money and we'll start back up. For 5 months, he did that. I made his payments for him, paid the insurance because he let it slip. And then I gave him the bike back, which I should never have done, but I trusted him. I thought he had good intentions. But then it came to a point where he said, you know what, you don't need the money, you're rich. And just, it went on from there. And at that point, that's it.
So what I suggest you do is sell it,
Mm-hmm.
and you're free to refile your claim once you've sold the bike. Make sure you have your figures correct, exactly how much he's paid you, what you got for the bike, the difference in the loan that you are still paying for, and that's what your damages are. Do you understand?
Yes.
In the meantime, he owes you $1,500 for his father's funeral. The $1,500 is a legitimate, I believe, loan. He slipped and used the word loan. That he has to pay back to you. And as soon as you get
Well,
me...
he also slipped and said that he owed me for the motorcycle jacket, too. So
Well, but he paid for some of it.
No, he
I
hasn't
paid 4
for it.
payments of $308 rather than $208 to make up for the $400 that she claims the
In
jacket
any
costs.
event, Miss Ross, pay attention. 3 years ago, you bought him a jacket. After he hadn't paid you for the jacket, you still lent him money for his
He wasn't
father's
paying
funeral.
for the jacket. He would never pay me back for one item and say, here, this is for that.
Then you got to be smart.
That's why I took the bike back.
Fine. Then you have it. Now sell it. Judgment for the plaintiff in the amount of $1,500.
I would like to be able to speak, Your Honor. What, do I not get to defend
Parties are
myself?
excused. You may step out.
Cool. So all the green highlighted things that you see are my voicemail being filled up by the plaintiff.
Intentions mean nothing. It's actions that actually speak louder than words.
That's 100 phone calls in an hour and 4 minutes.
The only times I called is to demand my money.
There's a little bit of a problem going on here mentally.
Don't trust men and don't buy them motorcycles or anything else.
Don't get married and don't give her your phone number.
And now the next case.
All parties in the matter of Reininger versus Lignar. Step forward, please.
Nurse's assistant Eva Reininger and her husband, mechanic Raymond Reininger, are suing their neighbors, landscaper Brad Lignar and his wife Deborah. The Reiningers claim the Lignar's dog, Sammy, destroyed their backyard.
Mr. and Mrs. Reininger, it is your claim that the defendant's dog damaged some property of yours. Tell me about that.
Somewhere around the 2nd or 3rd week of February, we found the dog wandering around our home.
What kind of dog was it?
Black Labrador. We saw he had a tag on with a telephone number on it. So we took the dog in, and I made a phone call. The phone number that we called was disconnected. I looked on the computer on a reverse directory, and I found the address. We went to the home. We noticed that there was nobody home. It was about a mile away from our home. And we had left a note that we had found the dog.
And you kept the dog in your house?
In our backyard. We have 2.5 acres fenced in. 2 or 3 days, we kept going back to see if anybody was there. We had also called animal control to let them know if anybody phoned in that they had a missing dog, that we had him. Finally, on a Monday, I had gone by the house again, and there was a car in the driveway, and I asked them if they were missing a dog, and Mr. Lignar said, yes, you have my Sammy. And they have a big fenced-in yard, and he said, our problem is he keeps jumping out. At that point, I said, would you like to come and get him? He says, well, where do you live? I said, about a mile down the road. At that point, he said, no. He says, just open the door, let him out, tell him Poppy's home, and he'll come home by himself. So I was on my way back, and then I saw Mrs. Lignar coming to get the dog. So we stopped in the street. The dog went and got in the truck with her.
Okay, so she actually then came to
She
the
was,
dog.
yes, she was on her way there. A week, 2 weeks went by. All of a sudden, we look in the backyard, and there's Sammy scaling our fence in our backyard, and now he's got a longer piece of chain attached to him. So he was with us again for a couple of days, and by now he had started.
Did you call them again?
Yes, we did. We tried calling, and nobody was answering. So at this point, I was starting to get a little fed up, and I said, this is ridiculous. They had told us the last time that they had gone to Daytona for 4 days, and apparently the dog was left unattended for 4 days while they were away. At this point now, I had already contacted the humanitarians who I work with. I work with Animal Rescue, and I work with several animal organizations. They were all willing to come and take Sammy if they did not want him. Now, we started noticing he was digging huge holes in the backyard, and he was digging out our shrubs. And now he was at the point where he was jumping over our fence and jumping back. Then we had a phone call. We had a message on our answering machine from Mr. Lignar saying, I know that you have my dog. I'd like you to bring my dog back. So we brought the dog back, and I guess my husband met with Mrs. Lignar and said, your dog has done several $100s worth of damages to our shrubs, our hedges, our fences, our bushes. You need to have someone come over and take a look at the damages. Well, they never came back. Well, Sammy must have come back 2 or 3 more times and kept jumping over our fence. At one point, we had him in our screened-in porch while he went through our screened porch. It's 2 years old, and it was custom built. The final straw was 2 o'clock in the morning. He came over our fence again, and we have a doggy door because we have 4 dogs of our own. Well, he came in through the doggy door, and he jumped into bed with our 4-year-old and our 2-year-old and scared the living daylights out of them. And to this day, we cannot get our kids to sleep in their own bed because they're terrified that this dog is going to come in and scare them.
Real cases, real people. Judge Judy. Eva and Raymond Reininger are suing their neighbors, Brad and Deborah Lignar, for damage to their backyard. The Reiningers say their dog, Sammy, is the culprit.
Go ahead.
We have estimates. We have pictures of the damage of what the house looked like before Sammy, after Sammy. And what we did was we just went to a local gardening store and got estimates on how much it would cost to replace the plants and the shrubs. And we got an estimate from the people who did the screen on how much it would cost to
Let me just see
repair.
your estimates.
These are the before and after pictures of Sammy. And these
How
are
old
the
was
estimates.
Sammy?
I believe they told me at the time that he was a little over a year old.
Okay, who's going to speak for your family?
Me, Your Honor.
Okay, I'd like to hear you.
Well, the dog got loose when we were in Daytona. My daughter was coming over to feed my animals. Okay.
How many animals do you have?
I have 1 black lab and 2 cats.
And the black lab was kept outside?
Yeah, he was outside dog.
Never comes in your house?
Nah, he comes in. She doesn't like because of the dog hair and stuff, but I sneak him in.
So the dog was outside day and night when you were away?
Yes.
Didn't you ever hear of a kennel?
Yes, ma'am.
So what's wrong with a kennel?
Well, he protects the house if anybody tries.
It's not protects the house if he's not there.
Well, somebody let him loose.
No.
Oh, yes.
Well, they didn't let him loose.
Well,
They didn't let him loose.
one of the neighborhood kids has let him loose before. You know, 'cause-
So if you know that happened before, then you should have taken steps and used a kennel.
well, what I can't understand is they said Sammy turned around and broke the chain. Well, I have the dog's chain right here.
Well, we didn't have a ghost dog. It was your dog.
Yes, ma'am.
They did not go and get your dog. So why didn't, when they presented you with these bills, why didn't you take care of them?
I wasn't home at the time.
Well, what makes you think you're not responsible for these bills?
I don't see it's my dog's doing it. You know, maybe once or twice, but, you know, they have pictures every day that they said it was my dog. There's neighbors got other black labs, and they have a female black lab.
So?
Now, how do I know their dog didn't do it?
You don't, except that they say so. Did the Chronicles ever call you and indicate to you that they could place the dog?
No, she did not. If she did, she got somebody else's phone number.
Well, let's go back to the first time they came. Mrs. Reiniger says that the first time she came and said she has your dog because she had to go and find you, you said, well, just open the gate and tell him Poppy's home and he'll go home. Does that sound right to you?
No, I told her, I said, where's the dog at? She says, my house, chained up, in her backyard. Well, if you were going to get rid of a dog...
So what did you tell her to do?
I told her, unchain the dog, tell him to come home, he'll come home. If not, I'll come down and get him.
Is that stupid?
No.
I mean, is there something wrong with you? Your dog's been missing, you're gone. Somebody, total stranger, goes to the trouble of finding out where you live.
This was the second time.
I'm talking about the first time. Finding out where you live, coming to your home and saying, we have your dog, we've taken care of your dog while you've been on vacation in Daytona, okay? We've taken care of your dog and protected your dog. Wasn't hit by a car, was fed, was cared for. And instead of you getting into your car and going over there and saying, thank you very much, I'm sorry for any trouble or inconvenience, you say, oh, just open up the door, let him go, tell him Poppy's home. What the hell's wrong with you?
I don't know where she got this Poppy stuff from.
Probably from you.
No, you're wrong.
Yeah. And it kept happening again and again and again. So clearly, something was wrong with the security system that you had, unless you believe that these people came and stole your dog out of you.
They might have done that, too.
Are you under psychiatric care?
Yeah.
Huh?
No.
Are you under psychiatric
No.
care? You on any medication?
No.
And then you're just being a smart mouth. Where is Sammy now? How is it that he hasn't been back to your house in how long?
It's been quite a while.
Where is he now?
She had him, my wife had him.
Put to sleep.
Why did you have him put to sleep?
While all this has been going on, I had taken Sammy to get him neutered. And when I took him in to get him neutered, he was diagnosed with heartworm. So I had to have him put to sleep.
You don't put a dog to sleep who has heartworm. You treat him.
No, they said it was too
They said
too
he
far
was
gone.
into the advanced stages, so...
Well, if he was in the advanced stages, it means you weren't giving him heartworm medication, which you're supposed to give your dogs. That's what dogs get, heartworm pills. So, you know, especially they're outdoor dogs. Why weren't you giving the dog proper pills?
We were.
If a dog is getting heartworm medication regularly, they do not get heartworm. Unfortunately, Mr. and Mrs. Reiniger, you're only suing for $470. I say that unfortunately because these are the most irresponsible people that I've met in a long time. That's just damage to your yard and your property and not for the trauma that Sammy caused when he just came into the room. He didn't hurt your children, but he came in the middle of the night. Your lawsuit seeks $470. Judgment for the plaintiff. Don't get any more dogs.
All rise. Your Honor, this is case number 300 on the calendar in the matter of Levitt versus Felix. Parties have been sworn in. Judge, you may be seated.
A relationship with the defendant. That relationship produced a child, a son.
Yes.
And that during that 5-year relationship, you made loans to him well in excess of $5,000.
Yes.
Relationship terminated.
Yes.
You want your money.
Yes.
And you say?
That's not how it happened.
Tell me about it.
Well, we were in a relationship for about, I'd say, a year, over almost a year. And he had for about, I'd say, a year, over almost a year. And he had a computer portrait business, and he wanted to enhance his computer equipment. So he came to me and asked me for a loan. And so I said, well, okay, it's understood that it's a loan. And he said, yeah, any money that I ask of you, I want, it's going to be a loan. I'm going to pay it back. And I said, okay. So I made a record of it. I made a record of everything, you know, because it's a business loan. And so
take it out. Show me. First, show him.
No, I've seen it.
You've seen it? Okay.
This is all the checks and our relationship. He paid me back some money, you know. And so he got a job like this year in July, and he's telling me that he gets paid like $4,000 a month. But yeah, he's not going to pay me back my money because, you know, I was stupid, I was gullible, I believed everything that he said to me. He used me because, you know, I was stupid, I was gullible, I believed everything that he said to me. He used me. He took advantage of my kindness, and we were together for 5 years.
And you say?
We met maybe back in 91 or 92, you know. She came in to get insurance for me, and she's been calling me ever since. And then a week later, I decided to go out with her. And after a couple of months, it just didn't work out. Okay, I said, look, it's not going to work out. You know, you just fresh off a relationship, you're insecure, you low self-esteem and everything, you know. Just, I don't want to go out with you, okay? And she started crying, okay? She's like, she grabbed my legs. Okay? She's like, please don't leave me. I don't want to be alone. I don't want this, I don't want that, okay? I said, I'll stay with you, but nothing's going to come out of it, okay? It was just strictly sexual. You know, we'll go out. She even called me her booty call. She called me when she wants to have sex.
That's
okay?
not true, Your Honor.
Hey, that's how it works, you know? I mean, I'd go out, do my own thing, you know, go out with whoever I wanted, okay, if I don't have anything better to do.
How chivalrous of you.
Well, I mean, that's what I pointed out. It's even on paper. You know, it's just like, take it or leave it, okay? I'm not going to have a relationship with you. Okay?
All of that is, listen, that's a boy-girl thing. If she wants to accept a relationship under those conditions, that's fine.
That's what she
We're
accepted.
talking here about.
I'm getting to that. I am getting to that. But in the meantime...
Loans, your insurance, all these checks with your signature on the back of endorsements. So, car payment.
I never asked her to pay anything for me, okay?
But just a second. Did you take it?
Yeah, she volunteered. Why not? You know? That's like she thought she had to do that, okay? In order to keep me from leaving her. It's either pay stuff for me or send me dirty pictures, half-naked pictures, just
Put them
everything.
away. I don't want to see them.
You don't want to see? I've got them here. Anybody else?
No, just
want
a second.
right.
Anybody else want to see it? Is that what you just said? Did you just say anybody else want to see it?
Well, the whole thing was a joke to me, you know? It's like things were not working out from day one, and she's like...
So why didn't you just say goodbye?
I have.
You're a big guy. You want to say goodbye to somebody, you could just say goodbye.
I went to Miami. I went to Orlando. She would track me down. I have letters she sent me to everywhere I go.
Well, so you understood Mr. Felix, right? That according to you, Miss Levitt was infatuated with you.
Yes.
And you felt that she was, according to you, insecure. Is that right? Fair statement? Vulnerable because of that.
Maybe you could see that.
Because of that.
Maybe you could see that. Sure.
And so you decided to go over and, according to you, for want of a better phrase that unfortunately doesn't come to my mind right now, service, right? Service her occasionally and pick up a check.
Nah, it wasn't always like that.
Let's go back a second, Mr. Felix. You did service her.
Yes.
And you did pick up a check.
That's not service for a check.
No,
It wasn't
no.
like that.
I'm just saying, you did service her, and you did pick up a check or two, or 10.
Sure.
Or 20. Now, Mr. Felix, that's not very nice, sir. That doesn't say to me that you are a very nice person. Do you want me to explain it to you?
Judge.
That you are a very nice person. Do you want me to explain it to you?
Judge Judy continues in a moment.
She got pregnant on purpose. That didn't work, okay? I'm not going to be with her no matter what she does.
And later today,
You made the car payments for her?
She borrowed money from her family that I helped repay.
My family will be very surprised to hear that there were payments made to them.
real cases, real people. Judge Judy. Jacqueline Levitt says the father of her child, Jean Carlos Felix, borrowed money to buy computer equipment, but never repaid her. He says the money was a gift.
Can I make this suggestion to you, sir? There will come a time when Miss Levitt will become so frustrated with the situation that if you don't take her to court, and I doubt that you will, because I doubt that you have this passion to see your child on a regular basis, but she will feel as if, as she should, that the child has a right to be supported by two parents. And that's what the law says. So she's going to take you to court. And under the law in many jurisdictions, she can take you to court seeking support from the date of the child's birth. Do you understand that? So I'm going to suggest, Mr. Felix, that from now on, when you make child support payments, you make them by check or money order made payable to her, clearly endorsed child support. So should there ever be a question about how much money you have paid, it is memorialized in a writing. Judgment in this case is for the plaintiff in the amount of $5,000. That's all.
Parties are excused. You may step out.
And now the next case.
Parties on Sherritt versus Liebenson. Step forward, please.
29-year-old Jill Charette says her ex-boyfriend, Brad Liebenson, missed several payments.
You were dating. He wanted a You were dating. He wanted a watercraft.
Yes.
Something that you ride on the water.
Exactly.
Very California.
Yes, it is.
But he had no credit. So you got the watercraft, she got the bill, and then you broke up, leaving you with the bill.
Yes, I do.
You have the bill?
I did.
Did you pay for it?
Up to a certain point, that's correct.
How much?
$1,000.
And how much was the watercraft?
Approximately $4,000.
So that leaves, well, explain to me why you don't owe her the watercraft or the...
Approximately $4,000.
So that leaves, well, explain to me why you don't owe her the watercraft or the $3,000.
Well, in the statement that I did give, we had come upon an agreement to where after I paid for her to stay with me during the period of our relationship and the money that I spent, that the balance...
Idea.
During one of our last meetings, before she actually moved out.
You had this conversation with her that you remember vividly as you stand here before me today.
Yes.
How long did you live together?
4 years.
He says that you came up with this agreement with regard to the watercraft, that you lived with him. I assume he's going to tell me that he paid all the bills. Is that right?
That's correct.
And the watercraft, that you lived with him. I assume he's going to tell me that he paid all the bills. Is that right?
That's correct.
And that therefore you had an understanding that he would pay for the first $1,000 of the watercraft. Does any of that sound familiar to you?
There was never any conversation like that at all. The only conversation in regards to the jet ski was that I was going to pay for it and he would make the monthly payments on it until it was paid off or until he could come up with the lump sum to pay it off. There was never any trade for this, trade for that. That was never discussed. That wasn't part of the agreement at all.
Mr. Liebenson, when you were together, tell me what kind of expenses you took care of, sir.
Rent, utilities, car payment, things like that.
For yourself and for the plaintiff.
That's correct.
She had her own car.
Yep.
And you made the car payments for her?
She borrowed money from her family that I helped repay.
Explain that to me.
She didn't have money for a car when she moved out here. She borrowed money from her family. I repaid most of that money.
How much money?
Approximately $3,000.
Can you show me how you repaid that money?
I made payments to them.
How?
By check and by giving money to Jill.
Well, let me see some checks.
I don't have them here.
Get copies of that, sir.
They weren't able to get them to me.
Does any of that sound familiar?
No, my family will be very surprised to hear that there were payments made to them for repayment of a car which I paid every dime of.
Assuming, Mr. Liebenson, that I do not believe you. Let's start with that premise, sir. Your answer, sir, says for the first year and a half that you were sir, says for the first year and a half that you were together, you paid for rent, bills, car repairs, and food. There isn't anything here about repaying a loan to her parents.
Maybe
Nothing.
I omitted that when writing my statement.
Well, the statement is 2 pages long, sir. That's a really big thing to omit, considering that it's the first thing that you mentioned to me today, and just happens to be in the same approximate amount of the water ski. And you go into great detail in your answer. Jill and I lived together for 4.5 years. During the last 6 to 8 months, I decided to purchase a personal watercraft.
That's correct.
Not the two of you. I decided. Although you say, due to my credit standing at that particular time, I was denied the loan. Jill offered to use her credit to obtain the loan. And then you say, after the separation, I discussed the fact that I had supported her during the first year or so, and we should offset that. So you go into great detail. Nothing about this loan that you paid, that you couldn't get from microfilm from your bank.
Judge Judy is ready to rule.
All right, you got the watercraft?
That's right.
You got the bill. How much did you pay?
Altogether, a little over $5,000 with finance charges because it was a revolving line of credit, so there was finance charges that were accrued.
You're only suing for $3,200.
Yeah, basic blue book cost of the watercraft. It's basically the principle of the thing at this point.
Mm-hmm. Judgment in this case is for the plaintiff in the amount of $3,200.
Judge, you may be seated. Have a seat, ma'am. Ma'am.
You two gals are real good friends. You went to some sort of an event, which you're going to tell me about. One of the things that happened at that event was that there was a door prize of a brand new Jeep automobile. Right?
Correct. Yes.
She won, you think that you should get half. Right?
No. Not exactly.
Well,
I think we both won.
You think you both won, and she claimed the prize.
Yeah, she ended up going behind the back and claiming the prize.
All right, let's start from the beginning. What kind of an event was this?
It was just an event from a radio station and Taco Bell. It was just a concert.
Slowly.
It was just a concert. It was just a concert where these rappers are going to be there or something like that.
You, according to your complaint, got the concert tickets and asked her if she wanted to go.
No, she got the concert tickets.
She got the tickets.
Yeah, and she asked me if I wanted to go.
Okay.
And I agreed, and we went, and at the door, they asked us if we wanted to gamble, and we said yes, and they gave us $500 fake dollars each.
Did you have to pay for that?
No. No, they just asked us at the front, if you wanted to gamble, you got $500. If you didn't, well, you didn't gamble.
So it was like Monopoly money.
Yeah, I guess, yeah.
Okay.
And after that, she asked me, I mean, I was there with her the whole time, but then she asked me if she could gamble my money, and I said, sure, go ahead, you know, and she's like...
You weren't gambling?
No, I was just standing right there, just helping her out. That was about it. she gambled. She got all my money. She gambled it away, and we ended up getting chips for just chips, regular chips of what you gamble with, in return when you were gambling. So we had to trade those in for tickets. And after that, some guys just came up to us and told us that, oh, they were leaving. They were in a rush, so they came over and they gave us their tickets. They said, here, girls, good luck, and if you guys win, give us a call.
So now you had these whole bunch of tickets, and you threw them in a pot.
We just, yeah.
Who held on to the stubs?
I did.
You did?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes, it was, she had it in my backpack, so she put it in the backpack. We had a backpack, it was only one, so she put them in there.
And you had a whole bunch of them. How many did you have?
There was probably 50 or probably more. I wouldn't know. We didn't count them. And we just threw them inside the backpack, and it was time for them to call out the tickets. The time came, so we went down there, and they started calling out tickets. We won other prizes. Prior to that, we won something else, and it was time to call out.
What else did you win?
We won a jacket and a backpack. And
what'd you do with that?
One of us kept the backpack, and the other one kept the jacket.
Is that right?
Yes.
Go ahead.
So I guess the time came to win the thing, and we just got the tickets, and she's like, here, you take half, because there was so many of them. We just split them up. She said, you take half, I'll take the other half. And
to look
at
the numbers as they were calling the numbers.
Yeah, so then after that, they called the number. That was about it. They called
And
it.
you had the ticket. You were holding that ticket.
Yeah, she was holding the ticket.
Okay. Now let me ask you this question. I'll ask you this question. There came a time when you did split up these tickets, right? She held half, and you held half. Tell me about that moment.
As I recall, we just split them up.
Not we split them up. They're in your hands.
Okay, I split them up evenly.
Split them up evenly?
Yes, I just gave her half, and, you know, we both looked at them.
Okay. Am I correct that your reason that that was done was because it's too difficult to look at all the numbers as they're calling out the numbers, like in a bingo or something, you know,
Yes.
so that each one of you was looking through half,
Correct.
right? And your ticket won.
Yeah, they were my tickets. They were all my tickets.
Now, why do you think they were all your tickets?
Because she had given me her $500. I did not ask her if I can play with her $500. She gave them to me. She gave the $500 to me.
How did that come about?
She said, here, take my money. You can gamble with it.
Is that what you said?
No.
No, that's not what happened.
That's exactly what happened.
No, we were gambling. She ended up, she was like down to her last $50, and she just said, can I, oh, let me have your money. And she said, if we would win the Jeep, we would split it up.
I had said that from the guys' tickets. I had the guys' tickets in one hand, and I had my tickets in the other hand. The ones that I had won.
No, you didn't.
Yes, I did.
No, you didn't. All the tickets were together in your backpack at one point. Oh, I
Yes,
think that they
at
probably
one point-
were.
at
All
one
the
point we put
tickets
them
were
all
together
together.
in your backpack.
At one point, I had put them all together, yes.
So at that point, they were all mixed together.
Yes.
Yours and the guys.
Yes.
Right. So there really is no way of knowing whether it was your ticket that won or the guy's ticket that won.
Exactly.
Well, now at least we got that straight. So it's not in one hand and then the other hand.
But I had told her, out of their tickets that they gave us, actually they gave me the tickets, and I told her out of those tickets, if we win it, we'll split it, because we were friends.
You couldn't tell whether it was their ticket that won.
No, we could not.
You just assumed it was comfortable for you to say it wasn't one of their tickets that won, it was my ticket that won.
I did not say that.
You had no way of knowing whether it was your ticket that won or one of the guys' tickets that won. Right?
Exactly.
Am I dealing? Hello?
Judge Judy continues in a moment.
You speak to this pain in the neck, and a 12-year friendship is down the drain over a Jeep.
And later today,
He had stolen my daughter's clothes before. I also have sex letters where he signed up for sex calls. And I have pictures to prove what kind of person he is.
real cases, real people. Judge Judy. 19-year-old Myra Barraza is suing her former best friend Tina Barraza after they won a new Jeep in a raffle.
I see that you have a tape there. Can you tell me what that tape is of?
This is just the day of the event. Recorded us where we both claimed the prize. We both did go up there and claim the prize. And
For the
said,
Jeep?
Yes.
I want to see it.
Here we go. 607-487.
Well, that certainly looks as if, at least at that moment, there was a mutuality that each of you won that prize. So what happened?
I was willing to split with her.
So?
And that's what we were going to do until about a month later. She had called me up, and she had said that she wanted to give it to me. She said, go ahead and have it, in other words.
Where was it?
I hadn't got it yet.
Did you do that?
No, I called her up. There was all this stuff was going on with the Jeep. We didn't know what we were going to do. It was a big old thing about it. We didn't know how we were going to split it up, who was going to pay for tax and license and everything. And we were going to get the confirmation letter. And I called her up and I told her, yes, you could stay with the Jeep. But she had said if she stood with the Jeep, she was going to give me an $8,000 loan. That's how much the car was worth, $16,000.
I did not state that.
And I told her, okay. She said she was going to tell her dad, sell her other car that she had just bought, sell it back, and instead of paying $15,000, she'll just tell her dad to get an $8,000 loan and pay me for it. And I said, okay. We agreed. I never thought anything. I just said, okay. We didn't. It was just a verbal thing. But I did tell her, okay, you could keep the Jeep, and
that sounds reasonable because you can't split up the Jeep.
Yeah, and I just said, okay. And I said, you could pay my $8,000, or else we're just going to sell the Jeep, and we're both going to get our half.
She's not. No, she did not say that on the phone. She told me that she wanted me to keep the Jeep. That's what she told me.
What? Of course, that's what she said to you.
Yeah, but she did not specify that she wanted me to give her $8,000.
Well, why would she make you a gift of $8,000? If the Jeep is worth $16,000, why in the world do you think, madam, that she would make you a gift of $8,000, which is half of the Jeep? Why?
I don't understand what you're saying.
Well, let's go slowly. What word didn't you understand? Why do you think? Why do you think that she would make you a present of $8,000?
She did not say anything about $8,000. I did not hear anything about $8,000 on that telephone call. At that time, I was like happy. I was happy that she given it to me, and I figured that
what are you doing standing up here?
I want to step in for the spot where she called her. She told me through everything that happened. She called me every time they had a conversation. She was asking me, what should I do? What should I do? What do I do about the Jeep? Do I split it in half? Should I sell it? What? I told her, you know what? You won the tickets to that concert. It's your Jeep. You were holding the ticket at the time she won it.
Oh, you're the troublemaker. Sit down. Sit down.
As I was saying, I figured the reason why she said that on the telephone is because she knew that she did not have any part in the ticket winning.
Oh, please, madam. I want to tell you something. I think that your conduct was really outrageous to bring it to this point. First of all, the two of you have been friends. There isn't a question in my mind. What?
9 years. 12 years.
There isn't a question in my mind, after looking at that tape, that at the time that Jeep was won, the two of you, both of you, I saw her signing papers.
We didn't sign any
Just
paper.
A second.
It was just a back of a flyer. We put down both our names and addresses.
Right. It was the back of a flyer. You both put down your names and addresses as the winners. Right?
Yes.
That's what it looked like to me on there.
Mm-hmm.
And then sometime you speak to this pain in the neck who says to you, I don't think you have to split it with her at all because it was your ticket, it was in your hand. And a 12-year friendship is down the drain over a Jeep because there is no logical reason that I can think of except if you're drinking too much, to think that this lady would call you up and say, I just want to give it to you because you're a very nice person. I care about you.
No.
Please.
Judge Judy continues in a moment. And later today,
That's called the Soddy principle, S-O-D-D-I. Some other dude did it.
real cases, real people. Judge Judy. Myra Peraza and her former best friend, Tina Peraza, won a new Jeep in a raffle. But Myra says Tina is refusing to share.
Listen to me. Bottom line is, the maximum jurisdiction in this court is $5,000.
I know.
You understand that?
Yeah, I know.
Right? Now, she claimed this prize. I assume you went and claimed the prize.
Mm-hmm.
Correct?
Correct.
She told me to do what's right, and that's what I thought was right.
Yeah, she just went off this one day. I spoken to her the weekend before she did this. I spoken to her the whole week when she went off to the radio station and had a cashier's check with her parents. And she did this on Friday. I spoke to her Friday and Saturday. She told me nothing. I told her what's going on. She said nothing. I haven't spoken to them. I haven't heard of anything.
Miss Peraza, your friendship's over.
I know that.
And based upon what I've heard, that's probably the right thing to happen.
Yeah, I know.
Because she's not a very trustworthy person. Now, she claimed the Jeep. She's going to have to pay the taxes on it. But I'm awarding you $5,000, which is the maximum that I can. My grandmother used to say, if you do the right thing happens. If you do the wrong thing, eventually it's going to catch up with you. What you did was pretty sneaky. That's all.
Parties are excused. You may step out.
Okay, you got your Jeep. You got her money.
Back door to your right, please.
Just to reiterate what Judge Judy said, bad things, it all comes back to people or whatever. It's going to come back to her because I did what I thought was right, and in God I trust that I did what's right, and I think it's going to come back to her what she did because she was wrong, not me. She's lucky for even being there. She's lucky for even being at the event. I don't see that she deserves half. I won the tickets to go to the event, and she was even lucky that I took her.
You got your $5,000
Yeah,
you wanted.
I did.
So
I
now you can shut up.
Yeah, you too. You had nothing to do with this.
And now the next case.
Parties on Anderson versus Rankin. Step forward, please.
Margaret Anderson is suing her tenant, Tim Rankin, claiming he made phone calls to 900 numbers totaling more than $1,000.
All right, Mr. Rankin. You rented a room from the plaintiff.
That's correct.
And I believe that you will agree, based upon what doesn't seem to be in dispute, that when you moved in, you wanted a telephone in your room.
That's correct, Your Honor.
But because of prior problems, you couldn't get the phone in your name.
She offered to put the phone.
Because of prior problems, you couldn't get the phone in your name.
I owed a past due bill on the Pacific bill.
So the answer to my question is yes. You couldn't get the phone in your name.
Correct.
I knew we'd get there, Bird.
Take your time, George.
So she said, okay.
Yes.
Right? Are you nervous?
Yes.
Hmm?
Yes.
I could tell you were nervous. She said, okay, you put the phone in your room, and within a relatively short period of time, you got a bill.
Yep.
And how much was that bill for?
$1,059.
For a 1 month period?
2 months period.
2 months. And you say I didn't do it.
I didn't do it, Your Honor.
Is the phone in your room?
Yes, it is.
You think she did it?
I doubt
Look
it.
at this lady. Look, I just want you to look at her. You think she went into your room and made the calls?
I doubt it.
Somebody's got to pay the bill.
That's right.
Now, you want to try to explain to me in 100 words or less why it shouldn't be you?
In 100 words or less, I don't know if I can do it in 100 words or less, but I believe that the other tenant that was living there made those phone calls.
So,
and there's a reason behind why I think he made those phone calls.
I'll hear you.
Okay, well, the former tenant and her had a limousine business. She put up $27,000 for a limousine. Somehow I was drawn into the middle of that. Their business relationship didn't work out from the get-go. They were screaming and yelling every night there. And because I didn't take his side in the limousine business, he started to have an attitude against me. Eventually, I had to throw him in jail for assault on me at the lady's house. The following day, her and I went down and put restraining orders on him. At that point, I believe he went in my room. He wanted me out of that house no matter what. No matter what the cost, so he could work on her by himself. I believe that he went into my room and made a bunch of phone calls, information phone calls. I'm not sure what exactly they were. Psychic, maybe, I don't know what kind of phone calls they were.
Psychic hotline calls? Is that what they were?
900. Sex calls.
Sex calls.
Sex calls. Okay.
Okay. So that's your defense. You know, we used to call that, when I was sitting judge in Manhattan, somebody once told me that that's called the Soddy principle, S-O-D-D-I. Some other dude
done it.
did it. Did you ever hear that?
Judge Judy continues in a moment.
Mr. Rankin, let's keep this simple, sir. Somebody's got to pay this bill. The phone is in your room. If the phone had been in your room and been in your name, you would have had to have paid the phone bill. And then if you felt that somebody in an unauthorized fashion used your phone, you would go and sue them. Right?
That's correct.
But you don't say to the telephone company, listen, ma belle, I didn't make the phone calls from my phone. Somebody else did it. You pay the bill, and then you pursue whatever other remedies you have. You are responsible to safeguard the phone in your room. Not her. She was doing you a favor. Why should she be out $1,059? Is there any reason?
No, there's not a reason
Good.
she should be out.
Judgment in the case is for the plaintiff in the amount of $1,059.
Order. All rise. Quiet in the courtroom, please. Quiet in the courtroom, ma'am. Judge, this is case number 290 on the calendar in the matter of Gigliotti versus Kemp. Parties have been sworn in, Your Honor. You may be seated. Have a seat, ma'am.
Mr. Gigliotti, you were going to the post office.
Yes, Your Honor.
You were driving.
Yes, Your Honor.
According to your complaint, you got to the post office and looking for a place to park, and all the parking spots were taken.
It was about 10:40 in the morning. I drove into the parking lot. I noticed there was no spaces available. I looked over the parking space for the handicapped, and there was a car there, and I noticed that it had Louisiana license plates that were not handicap provided. I also looked at the front mirror to see if there was a placard there.
So you got out of your car?
Yes, I did. And then I went back to my car and I took out a Polaroid camera, and I took a picture of the car and my car as it was seated in the parking space for the handicapped, and then I wrote down the license plate number. And I also noticed when I was around front that it had a Navy parking sticker on it. So I copied down the number of that also.
Okay. So far, what you were doing is you were outraged that somebody parked in the handicapped parking spot.
Exactly, Your Honor.
Okay, so then what did you do?
Well, as I was writing down the license plate number from the car that was parked there, it was a black Plymouth, a woman came out of the post office, and she started yelling and screaming and waving her arms. She was waving her arms like this. And she said, you move that car, I'll move you.
What do you mean? I don't understand. Why did you have to move your car?
I had pulled in behind the car that was in the parking space in order to get out of the driveway, because the driveway was right next to that parking space. I pulled in behind it.
So you blocked the car?
Yes.
Now, when you looked inside the car, did you see anybody in the car?
I didn't notice anybody at that time, Your Honor.
Okay, so you had now blocked the car, and the woman came out and said, you better move the car.
Yes.
What did you do?
She was yelling and screaming, and I was absolutely certain that she was going to cause some violence. So I walked away from her and walked into the post office and called the police.
Why didn't you just get into your car and move your car?
I didn't think I had that much time. She was coming at me rather fast, rather loud.
Order.
Yeah, go ahead.
And while I was waiting in the post office, Miss Corbett, who was going to be the witness, came in and said, is that your car with the handicap placard in the parking lot? And I said, yes, it was. And she said, that woman just keyed your car. And I went out to the parking lot to see if I could see where she had keyed the car, but she was still walking up and down between the two cars, yelling and screaming and throwing her arms around. So I didn't go out there. I just waited until the police came. And when the police came, I did go out and I inspected the car, and it had been keyed, the entire driver's side.
Okay. You do have handicap plates on your car?
I do.
Why is that, sir?
Because I have a back injury that limits my ability to walk.
How long have you had that back injury?
2.5 years.
And how long have you had the handicap plates?
About 1.5 years.
Step up, please.
Yes.
Can you tell me your name?
Yes, I'm Janice Corbett.
Miss Corbett, I assume you work in the post office. You're the postal worker.
Yes, ma'am.
Did you see this lady key his car?
I saw this lady do a keying motion to his car.
Describe what you saw.
I saw her talking with another woman and some children, and she had her keys in her hand. She was frustrated. Then she went to the side of his car, and her arm turned. I could not actually see the key in her hand at this moment, but her arm was turned, so I could see this part, and she walked stiff-armed alongside the car.
Miss Kemp?
Yes.
According to your complaint, and you have a countersuit against the plaintiff for unlawful imprisonment of both you and your children, who you say were in the car.
Yes.
How many children did you have in the car?
3.
How old are they?
At the time, the twins were 4 months old, and Nicholas was 5 years old.
What were you doing at the post office?
I went to the post office that morning to mail a few letters and to purchase stamps. I did pull in to a handicap spot. Yes, I know that was wrong, but thinking that I would be in there 2 to 3 minutes, I knew I would be right back out. I just didn't think there would be a problem. So, and I was in a hurry because I went there before I brought Nicholas to school. So we went into the post office, my kids and I did what I had to do. I stopped at the front counter to make out some things on the...
How are you holding the twins?
They were in a stroller.
So you actually took them out of the car and put the twins in the stroller?
Yes.
And Nicholas was with you?
Yes.
Right?
Yes. And we went into the post office. Like I said, on the way out, I stopped at the desk to put the stamps on and all. So I did that. We went back to the car. He said I was waving my arms. I didn't even recognize him because I was in such a hurry to get Nicholas to school. But I got in the car. As I looked back to see if my pathway was clear, then I realized he was parked behind me. So that parking lot is really small. So I thought maybe he was just trying to maneuver his way out of it. He didn't move. So I just sat there and waited a second because I didn't really know what he was doing. So he didn't move. I saw him come out of his trunk with a camera. So he started to take pictures. And so I didn't think anything. And then I looked up and there was his handicap. I said, okay, I know what he's doing and I know what I did. So I got out and I was not enraged because I knew I was wrong. I became upset when he said he was not going to move. So I waited until he was done with it because I thought that would be the end of it. He's taking pictures. This is his evidence. They'll give me a ticket. That was not the end of it. So he went into the front part of his car to do what I don't know. So that's when I took a step to the back of my car and I asked him, would he then move? He said there was no way in hell he was going to move. And he was the person that was yelling. I was not yet upset because I wasn't quite sure what his intentions were yet.
Judge Judy will continue in a moment.
When she came out, she was so violent that I was absolutely certain it was going to get into fisticuffs.
I don't believe you, sir. I don't believe you.
30 years and 30 pounds on me.
Real cases, real people. Judge Judy. Jerome Gigliotti says Monica Kemp slashed his tires and keyed his car in the post office parking lot. Monica says Jerome blocked her car so she couldn't pull out, leaving her and her children trapped.
You knew you had done something wrong.
Right.
But you knew that what he was doing, that he was gathering evidence so that he could present it to give you a ticket.
After what,
Okay.
And he told me there was no way in hell he was going to move. I then started to tell him that, you know, I had to get Nicholas to school. I informed him that I did not have any more formula for my kids because I didn't bring any because I was intending a quick trip to the post office and to school.
I assume you were pretty hot at this point, Ms. Kemp. I assume you were.
I was not angry yet because I thought once I told him that, he would move. And I offered him other information of mine. I told him he could have my driver's license number. I did notice when he came to the front of the car, he was copying down my military information. I asked him, didn't he have enough information? He was ignoring me. When I offered more information, he ignored me. And at this point, when he started to walk off, I was like, I don't believe this. You are going to let us out, aren't you? And he was just walked off. And so there was another woman who came up, and she just started to ask me what was the problem and are you okay, because by this point I had become extremely emotional, because it's like, okay, this man is not going to move, and my kids are in the car and it's hot, and they were starting to cry, and I was just really upset. I was scared. So she tried to calm me down. She went in the post office and she asked him to move. And
did somebody else come into the post office and ask you to move, sir?
Yes, Your Honor.
Why didn't you?
I told her I wasn't going to go out there so long as that other woman, Miss Kemp, was out there.
All they wanted you to do was move the car.
You
Sir.
did not see the condition that she was. She was yelling and screaming, waving her arms, and there was no way I was going to get into a fight with her.
what was I going to do, throw a baby at you?
Just a second.
I had a baby in
Just
my
a
arm.
second. You know that all she wanted you to do was to move your car. She wasn't going to get into a fight with you, because if she got into a fight with you, she couldn't get her kids in her car out. Come on, sir. Let's be honest with each other. You were very angry that someone had parked in the handicap spot that was really reserved for you. Now, I can understand that. I can really understand that. There's nothing to suggest that you did anything wrong in taking down the license plate number, copying down the Navy information, taking a photograph of her parking in that spot. I'm telling you now, I do have a problem with you blocking her car, especially when you knew that there were children with her, twins, under 6 months old, and her son. I do. I mean, you came into court today not in a wheelchair, sir. You didn't come in a wheelchair, and you didn't come in a stretcher. So I don't know how come it is that you got a handicap parking placard. I have difficulty walking too sometimes. Nobody's going to give me a handicap parking placard. Right? Even a bird here sometimes gets tired, right, Bird? So, can't get a holier-than-thou approach to life, sir, and look at everything reasonably. I mean, this is a situation that was a fast-paced situation, but try to have a little understanding. She was prepared to get a ticket. You could have seen to it that she got a ticket. But you went a little overboard. Now, that doesn't excuse the fact that you keyed his car.
I did not key his car.
Somebody keyed his car. Let me see the pictures of your car. Come on, Miss Kemp. So far, you've been very honest with me. So far, I believe you've been very honest with me.
I have been.
That's right. Let's see, Roxas. Yeah. And aside from the scratch marks on your car, you also had a blown tire, is that right?
No, Your Honor, it wasn't blown, it was slashed. I have a cast of the tire here that shows it's a very neat cut. And when I took it into the tire repair place, they said they couldn't patch it and that it had gone about a ½ an inch into the tire. And it's a very narrow cut, so you can see there was a cut and there wasn't road damage.
If it was cut, you must have cut it, because I didn't.
Let me take a look at that, please. Well, it's kind of hard to slash a tire with a key.
May I say something?
Sure.
I would like to know if his tire was slashed, how did he back out to let me out? How did he get out?
I just said to you, I don't think he can establish through any witness that he has today that you did anything to the tire of his car. That's not what this witness said. Miss Kemp, look at me, dear.
I'm looking.
Keying his car. Saying, Miss Kemp, I'm not suggesting to you that the situation didn't enrage you. You had a right to be enraged.
I know.
I believe you had a right to be enraged. What you did was a violation. Sir, what she was engaged in was a violation. I find it disingenuous on your part to suggest that you feared for your life, and when you called the police, you said that a woman had just assaulted you, because that's what you wrote in your complaint. This woman never assaulted you. If she came out swinging her arms and being very agitated because her car was blocked, that is not an assault.
Judge Judy will continue in a moment.
What kind of work do you do?
I'm an attorney, Your Honor.
You must have a very slow practice.
Real cases, real people. Judge Judy. Jerome Gigliotti says Monica Kemp did damage to his car at the post office. Monica denies she did anything wrong and says Jerome overreacted by blocking her car for 2 hours.
Let me explain something to you, sir. What you found was a violation. No different from finding somebody parked in front of a fire hydrant. Same kind of violation. The action that you took was not in direct proportion to the violation that you observed. Once, sir, you observed this lady and her children. She had 3 little kids. Wisdom would have been the better part of your action, and if you would have said, I now have the proof to take to the police, this is her car, this is this, she is going to get a ticket for parking in a handicapped spot, which was clearly wrong, you and I would have had no problem. And if she vandalized your car, which I believe that you did, Ms. Kemp.
I see that, but I didn't.
Yes, you did. Your action was not responsive to what you saw, sir. You did not exercise good, mature judgment. Good, mature judgment would have meant, once you saw what she had in the car, which was 3 small children, you pulled the car out, let her leave, report it to the police, go to the Army barracks, do whatever you wanted to do in order to see to it that she had to pay an appropriate fine. It would have aggravated her enough to have paid a fine. What you chose to do was to create and incite a situation by blocking her car. That was dumb, stupid, and I guarantee you, if she had been 6'4" and a man walking out of that post office, you would not have blocked the car. No question in my mind, you would not have blocked that car. So,
Your Honor,
I have a lawsuit.
I didn't intend to block her car.
Well, you
I
did.
intended to take down the information.
You
When
did.
she came out, she was so violent that I was absolutely certain it was going to get into fisticuffs.
I don't believe you, sir. I
She's
don't
got
believe
30
you.
years and 30 pounds on
I
me.
don't believe you, sir. All
30
you had
years,
to do,
you wish.
all you had to do was
Look
get
like my
in your
great-grandfather.
car. You had already taken the pictures. Get in your car and leave. And she, with her 3 small children, was not going to assault you. And you will never convince me otherwise, sir. Never. So, you have a lawsuit, and you are suing her for $5,000 for illegally parking in a handicapped space.
Your Honor, I later found out that she lives 1 block from the post office.
And?
Just a second.
She could have walked home if she wanted to. She's 1 block away.
And you
Sir,
could
Shay,
have moved.
please don't respond to him.
You're right, I shouldn't.
Shh, please don't respond to him. First of all, how did you find out she lives a block away from the post office?
I took the license plate down and I used the DMV in New Orleans, in Louisiana and Baton Rouge to find the registered owner. And then through the Postal Service, I obtained a forwarding address from that address to the address in San Diego.
Do you work?
Yes.
What kind of shop? What kind of work do you do?
I'm an attorney, Your Honor.
You must have a very slow practice.
Yes. That's what I think.
Because if you took the time over this nonsense that you have just told me about, you'd be far better to donate some of your time and some of your energy, sir, to the poor. I was sympathetic to you up to a point. There isn't a soul who drives a car that isn't infuriated when they are driving around and around and around and looking for a parking space and see somebody who has abused their parking privilege and parked in a handicapped spot. Not a soul who's driven a car who hasn't had that kind of frustration. You took it a step too far. And she has a cross complaint against you for $5,000 for unlawful imprisonment for a period of well over 20 minutes. Is that what it was?
No.
How long?
It was like 3 hours.
Until, from the time he blocked your car until the time the police came, how much time elapsed?
From the time he blocked me until the time the first set of police arrived?
How many sets of police arrived?
They had to call someone else to make him move because he, and that's on my cross complaint also, about the intentional infliction of emotional distress. This is when my son became emotional because he would still not move. They had to call someone else to make him move.
Why wouldn't you move when the
he
first set
wanted
of
me arrested?
Why wouldn't you move when the first set of police came?
The first set of police never asked me to move my car.
I heard him.
Well, you were no longer in fear.
That's true.
Just a second. You were no longer in fear, sir, because you now had police officers around. Why didn't you just move your car?
Because they didn't tell me to. All they wanted to do was talk to me.
He's lying.
Judge Judy is ready to rule.
I believe you keyed his car. Right? Let him fix it. I believe that your children suffered during that period of time. And I assume you'll never park.
5 on the calendar in the matter of Stanoff versus Jefferson. Parties have been sworn in, Judge. You may be seated. Gentlemen.
This was your boyfriend. How long had you known each other?
About 2.5 years, almost 3 now.
And you're not together anymore.
Correct.
While you were together, he used your credit card to buy rims for his car.
Correct.
And you say, sir, that it was a gift of love.
Yep. Yes.
So, Miss Stanoff, why don't you tell me about this rimming?
We were together about 2.5 years, and we ended up breaking up for about 6 to 9 months. We moved in together as roommates. He needed to purchase some rims. He then put $500 down, wrote a check to West Coast Motorsports in Garden Grove, and then proceeded to tell me that that he needed to have the other $1,300 to pay on the rims, or else he was going to lose his $500. So I went down with him. In return, he said that he would pay me back in full. He had gave me a Vaughn's credit card, or I'm sorry, credit union card. Told me that actually there was $30 taken out of his check every week that I could take out to pay the bill back.
So you broke up, he's got the rims and you got the bill. Is that what you're telling me?
Correct.
Go.
Okay. Well, we broke up. We moved back in together. We were living there for about a week, and she usually takes me out shopping, buying me stuff whenever I want, when we get in fights or something. And she offered to buy me some rims for my car. She
Why
paid for
would
them.
she take you out shopping if you have a fight?
That's how she is. Whenever I got mad at her, we got in a fight, she bought me stuff. And she has a record of always, every time we break up, trying to take something back from me. And that's why, like, when we got back together that time, for like 3 years, she made me sign a contract saying that, it was a contract, it was made in 5/30/95, saying that the first thing on there says, whatever you bought me is mine if we break up no matter what. And she signed it and dated it, everything. So that's how she always goes through that stuff. Buys me stuff and then wants to take it back when we break up. When we went to buy the rims, I wrote the check for $500 and she paid the rest with the credit cards. There was no agreement. He was there with me when we bought it. It was us 3 there. We went there. There's no agreement that I had to pay back, nothing. The reason she got my cash card is
Just a second. Who has the car?
The card?
Car!
No, I sold it.
With the rims?
Yes.
How much after she paid for the rims did you sell the car?
I sold it for $18,500.
Well, I didn't ask you that question, but that's an interesting answer.
How much longer?
What?
How much longer? Just
What word in English didn't you understand?
You said how much the car 3 months ago.
How much after you put the rims on the car did you sell it was my question. You said $18,000, which isn't exactly
2
an
months.
answer, but I'll take it.
2 months.
Had you already broken up with her at the time?
Yeah.
So why didn't you give her back the money for the rims from the car?
Because they were a gift. That's like
what?
They were a gift. That's like I bought her rings and stuff. Am I supposed to take everything back that I bought her?
Let me explain
That's
something
not
to you,
right.
sir. There's a difference between a ring, a piece of jewelry, a watch, a shirt, a tie, a pair of rollerblades. There's a difference between that and 4 rims for your car.
There's no difference. It's material.
How old are you?
20.
Where do you live?
In Hawaiian Gardens.
Who do you live with?
My grandma.
Your grandmother?
Yes.
Where do your parents live?
I don't know. I don't talk to my parents.
You don't know, you don't talk to them?
Yes.
For how long?
For a while, all my life.
What do you mean all your life?
All my life, like
You
I
mean
said.
you've always lived with your grandmother?
Yes.
Is it your mother's mother or your father's mother?
Mom's.
Does she talk to her daughter?
Yes.
You ever been arrested, Mr. Jefferson?
Nah. Nope.
Where do you work?
I don't work now.
Why?
Because I quit, because I lost my license.
What license?
Driver's license.
Why?
For speeding.
How many times?
3.
And you were never arrested, sir?
Nah, I never arrested, no.
And what kind of car was this that you sold for $18,000?
97 Mitsubishi Eclipse.
How'd you buy it?
Financed it.
What kind of work were you doing when you financed it?
I worked for UPS in Vaughn's.
And what happened to those jobs?
I had to lose them because of her.
You lost your UPS job because of her? How did she cause you to lose your UPS job?
See, that's how it started. When she broke into my box and she stole my car keys and my checkbooks, all this stuff, and she stole my car from UPS one night because I worked midnight shift. I go in 3 to 9, and I came out, my car wasn't there, and then I came back and it was moved somewhere else. She stole my car, and I couldn't keep letting my car go out. She always threatened me, saying that all my friends they're gonna steal your car, take the rims off, steal your radio. And then Vaughn's, she went in there harassing me all the time. My boss complained to
So
me.
she wanted the money back for the rims or the
No,
rims
she
right
didn't want
from the
the money.
beginning?
Nah, it's not for the money. It's for the love. She missed me. She wanted me still.
Oh, my God. God help her if that's what she wanted. How old are you?
19.
Who do you live with?
My grandmother.
Where are your parents?
My parents are in Norco. I talk to them once a week.
Where?
Norco, North Corona.
And why don't you live at home?
Because it's too far for me to commute now.
Have you ever met his parents?
I've met his mother.
When?
I've met her a few times during the 2.5 years that we were together. I've seen her probably about a year ago. I saw her.
When you saw them, was he there?
Yeah. He's
Did
the one
he-
that introduced me to her.
Does that sound familiar to you, sir?
Yeah, it sounds familiar.
So it's not that you haven't spoken to your parents or your mother?
I don't talk to them.
Oh, God.
Judge Judy continues in a moment.
You are a 20-year-old unemployed person who takes from young women because he thinks that he's God's gift. I mean, you're not even good looking.
And later today,
We said to them we're missing a day of work. They know the money that we do make when we work.
Well, if you're topless entertainers and do stand-up comedy, then you know about contracts.
real cases, real people. Judge Judy. Rachel Stanhoff says her ex-boyfriend, Joseph Jefferson, owes her money he borrowed to buy car rims. Joseph claims the money was a gift.
Listen up, Mr. Jefferson. You owe her for the tire rims. You're 20 years old. You could either be in your life. First of all, you got this dumb look on your face, which is really irritating. The smile, which really is irritating, because it looks to me as if you're trying to get over, and you think you're going to get over me. I'm smarter than you will be if you live to be 170 years old. Right? Do you understand that? Because you are either so thick or so impervious to what's right because you had no moral upbringing that I really feel sorry for you. And maybe that accounts for this ridiculous look on your face. But what I'm telling you is, you could either be a nice person or you could be a taker and a sucker all your life, sucking off other people. And it sounds to me as if you started your young life being a sucker off other people, taking advantage of other people and thinking that you have some gift, some special gift. I tell you right now, I got 3 sons, right? And I'm looking at you and I'm saying, you are no gift to anybody.
You gave it?
You are no gift. You are a 20-year-old unemployed person who takes from young women because he thinks that he's God's gift. I mean, you're not even good looking. Judgment in this case is for the plaintiff for the amount of $1,255. That's all.
Parties are excused. You may step out. Out the back door to your right, please.
And now the next case.
Parties on Kaufman Smith versus Rodriguez. Step forward, please.
Bikini models Jennifer Kaufman and Kim Smith are suing magazine publisher David Rodriguez because he used their photos in his magazine but never paid them.
You two ladies posed for some photographs that were in the defendant's magazine. You claim that he promised to pay you. He didn't. Is that what this case is about?
Yes, it is.
Well, who's going to speak first?
I would like to.
What's your name?
Jennifer Kaufman.
Okay.
We met Dave through some mutual friends, and we met at a local restaurant. And we had discussed, he said he was going to do some catalog work and a lot of different stuff, and we were excited for him, and we had discussed doing some pictures for him. And so
He wanted to set up a photo shoot for the bathing suit company.
for the bathing suit company.
Yeah.
And we went, he set up the photo shoot. Well, we didn't make the first one. And during the, at the restaurant, he said, well, at the sign a release, if we like your pictures, and we'll go from there.
The photographer then called us and insisted that we come on Father's Day and do this. And they said if they decide to publish our pictures, then we will then sit down and talk about a contract and be compensated for our work. Then some girls came up to us and said, yeah, we saw your picture in the San Antonio Sports Magazine. We were like, what? And we never signed anything. May I also add there's pictures floating around the internet.
So what you're telling me is you didn't have a contract with him?
We were supposed to, if the pictures were
If
to
they
be
liked the
published,
pictures, they didn't, yeah.
then we would
If
sit
they-
down and talk about them.
Yeah.
I mean, what do you do for a living? What do you do for a living?
We're entertainers.
And I
What
do
kind of
stand-up comedy.
entertainers?
We're both topless entertainers, and I do stand-up comedy.
Well, if you're topless entertainers and do stand-up comedy, then you know about contracts. So you're going to do these pictures, right, for some sort of compensation if the pictures were published. But you hadn't discussed the compensation with him.
If they decided to use our pictures, then that's what we were to discuss.
Excuse me, Your Honor.
Did you ever hear speak when spoken to? Sit down. I'm not ready for witnesses yet.
Okay.
Good. So you hadn't had an amount of money that you agreed on, even if they used your pictures.
Well, we said to them, we're missing a day of work. They know the money that we do make when we work, and it's a very hard lesson. We did learn a lesson from this.
Good. So what are you here for?
To be compensated
Be
for
compensated for the work that was done.
And
well,
our
how
pictures
much
are
do you think? How much do you think you should be compensated?
$750 for each job.
And how many jobs did you do?
2.
You each did 2?
The first job we did was for a clothesline. It was runway modeling for the other photographer.
Well, don't tell me about the other photographer. You're talking about this. You're talking about this swimsuit issue, right?
Right.
Yes. So you think you should be compensated $750 a piece? That's $1,500, right? What about $500 a piece for the day? No, I'm just asking. What about $500?
May I say I have no animosity toward Dave. It has nothing to do with. It's just it's about work. It's about his job that we don't. We're not compensated for. We trusted in his word, and that's what was understood.
Well, you know, if that was the case, if she had no animosity toward me, she called my advertisers trying to say that I was a liar. I mean, I go on my word.
Never said that.
I don't have any proof to show you, but my clients call me and say, you know, we have 2 girls calling trying to get our insurance company to pay them money. And this is one of my clients, I can't say who they are, and they said, why were they calling me? I have nothing to do with your
Mr. Rodriguez.
Yes.
You took pictures of them, correct?
I didn't. A
photographer did. For your magazine.
Yes.
And you make money from this magazine from selling advertising space,
Absolutely. Absolutely.
All right.
Yes.
So it would seem to me that if you sold advertising space, and this is that way you make your living, then you compensate the people who work for you. So you use their pictures.
Yes.
And how did you compensate them?
Okay, this is the deal.
No.
Okay.
No.
Yeah.
Not here's the deal.
Okay.
You use their pictures in a product that you made from which you make a living from selling advertising.
Yes.
And my question to you is, how did you compensate them?
I told them they would get trade, that they would get a swimsuit. The company said they would provide each girl a swimsuit.
Why would we want...
Just put your hand down.
For their services, for posting in the magazine.
Are you kidding me or what?
Judge Judy continues in a moment.
And I'm not going to hire 2 strippers. I'm going to go after a modeling agency. That's what I would do if I'm going to pay anybody to model on my magazine.
First of all, stripper, it's not what you do, it's who you are.
Real cases, real people. Judge Judy. Bikini models Jennifer Kaufman and Kim Smith say magazine publisher David Rodriguez published their photos without paying them. David claims they agreed to let him use the photos for free.
Did you give him the swimsuit?
Well,
not well.
Yes, one of them has a swimsuit.
The one that they were wearing
One
that
of them,
day?
yes.
The one that they were wearing that day?
Yes.
Well, you know, you can't go out and sell those things again. I mean, you can't go out and sell them once you use it.
Exactly.
You know, once you use it,
Yes,
you bought it.
exactly.
So you're telling me, Mr. Rodriguez.
Yes.
You expect me to believe, sir, that you got all the free talent to make your magazine, and in exchange for that, they were supposed to get a bathing suit.
Yes.
I don't usually ask these questions because it's not a good idea. Lawyers should never do that. Why would you think that they would do that?
This is the reason why.
I'm waiting.
Every year, I have an annual swimsuit issue. I get tons of photographs from women who want to be in the swimsuit issue. It's one of my biggest issues of the year. I don't pay one model to be in my swimsuit issue, not one. Out of all the models that I used, I have 13 models. I have these 2 girls saying they want to get paid. 2 girls out of 13 models. Does that make any sense there?
Can I see the magazine, please?
Well, we don't know what they discussed with them, but what we discussed with him is totally different.
Well, I have
no,
witnesses.
let me tell you something. You didn't really discuss anything with him, because when you discuss something with him, then you make a price. I could just as easily say to you, listen, ladies, you didn't discuss with him what the price was for your work that day, which is what you're supposed to do. So I believe that you should be compensated. Looks to me like you had a pretty good time. $50 seems like a nice amount of money. I mean, I could say that to you. You're supposed to be smarter. I mean, if this is your business, if you're in the entertainment business, you're supposed to use your noodles.
But the fact of the matter is, too, that they contacted me. Here's the deal here. She called me wanting to be in my swimsuit issue. So I said I would meet with them. I met with them right on the table. Think of it. I have all these models. I mean, I have real models. I mean, I could have, if I was going to pay anybody, I'm going to hire a modeling agency. I'm not going to get.
Do real models not get paid?
Well, let me ask you.
I'm not going to hire 2 strippers. I'm going to go after a modeling agency. That's what I would do if I'm going to pay anybody to model a magazine.
First of all, stripper, it's not what you do, it's who you are.
Okay, well.
Let me ask you this question, sir. They took a lot of photographs of these young ladies, right? Where are the photographs that they took of these young ladies?
The photographer has them. They are his pictures.
Around the internet.
Some of them you have.
Yes.
Because you clearly went through some of them.
Sure, to edit it and go through it and decide which ones were the best, yes.
Well, let us assume for the moment that there was some sort of a misunderstanding. And in addition to being compensated by getting a swimsuit, and quite frankly, ladies, I can understand why ladies who are in the entertainment field would like to have the kind of exposure that this magazine, I mean, it looks like a perfectly nice magazine. It's got a picture of nice young ladies in bathing suits and very athletic-looking young men. I mean, there's nothing untoward about these pictures. Why you might want to have your picture in this kind of magazine, right? I assume you like that idea.
Yeah, if you like
right?
it.
I assume you like that idea.
Sure.
Okay. And the money wasn't really that important to you, because if it was that important to you and if it was your business, you would have made a price with him and you would have entered into a written contract with him.
Judge Judy continues in a moment.
I don't take much stock in the fact that there was some sort of a breach of contract. But Mr. Rodriguez.
Well, can I say something? Okay.
I'm not going to take any longer with this case than it's worth. It's not worth a lot, sir. I've already told them that they're not getting $3,000, they're not getting $1,500 because you didn't have a contract price, and I don't intend to make a contract now when there was none before.
But do I get anything for the models that now, since they ruined it with the swimsuit issue, they do not want to give the models that I owe swimsuits to? Now I have to, what do I do now? What do I do now?
Listen, what am I, your mother? What am I, your mother? You got a countersuit here? You have a countersuit here?
Well, I didn't, there was not time.
Time, shoulda, woulda, coulda. You're a businessman. I'm not your mother. I don't intend to solve all your problems, sir, and stop chewing gum in my courtroom. Listen to me. Listen to me.
Yes.
You have some pictures of them that I think that they would probably like to have.
Yes.
Would you like to have the photographs?
Yes, please.
That would be very nice. At least they could put that in their portfolio, right?
Well, since they're the photographer's pictures,
I'm talking about the ones,
I
you
have. Yes, yes. Gladly, I'd give them to him.
Perfect. By tomorrow. That's all.
Parties are excused. You may step out. Courtroom, please. All rise. Your Honor, this is case number 306 on the calendar in the matter of Thomas versus Lewis. Parties have been sworn in, Judge. You may be seated.
Mr. Thomas, your lawsuit alleges that the defendant filed false allegations against you of sexual harassment, causing you, at least temporarily, to lose your job.
Yes.
And suffer all kinds of emotional trauma and stress and embarrassment.
Yes.
Did you work together in the same office?
No, ma'am.
Well, tell me how you knew her.
We cordially met in the lobby area, and
In the lobby of a building where you both worked?
yes,
What kind of work were you doing?
I'm in the security field.
So you were a security officer.
Yes.
Go ahead.
And, from time to time we spoke, and then every now and then we went to lunch, socialized and talked everything. And everything was pretty cool. There was a situation.
There came a time when you alleged that you lent money to the defendant.
Yes.
And that precipitated her making these allegations against you.
Yes.
Well, tell me about that, sir.
Okay. Well, as I said, she was having some problems. And she asked my assistance as far as loaning her some money for a motel that she had wanted to stay in to relocate from the current place she was at. And so, I went and I assisted her in that matter. She stayed there for a couple of weeks.
How much money did you actually loan her?
Well, it wasn't a direct cash flow. I utilized a credit card, so I would be able to keep a record in the future.
How much?
$250.
Okay. $250.
Yes, $250.88.
Okay, so you helped her out with the motel from moving from one place to another.
Yes.
And then what happened?
At that time, her apartment was ready, and she again asked my assistance to help her relocate to the apartment. Well, she didn't have the funds required to rent out the truck, so she asked if I could utilize my credit to rent the truck out, and then once we've completed the move, she would reimburse me of the initial truck use funds.
And how much was that altogether?
Altogether, that was $57.24 for the truck and $6.25 for gas to refuel the truck.
Now, did she pay you back any of this money?
No.
So there came a time when you started to ask her for the money?
Yes.
And then what happened?
Okay, the disagreement arose around the time when we were trying to negotiate a way to return the truck. Well, apparently she was agitated because I didn't want to loan her my credit card and so she can return the truck and then return the credit card back to me. So that pretty much fueled the disagreement. Well, to pretty much separate myself, I said, well, go ahead, return the money that you owed me. This is the money that you owed me, and we'll just go our separate ways. She responded in a threatful manner, basically stating that, if you don't leave me alone, you're going to regret that you ever met me. So I left it alone Sunday, and Monday morning I called her again, once again trying to see if we can't negotiate this in a mature manner. She wouldn't speak to me, so what I did is I conjured up a letter to her and just basically broke down everything that she had owed me.
Okay, so you sent her a letter.
Yes.
When did she make these allegations against you of sexual harassment?
I sent the letter to her Monday, and the allegations were brought to my attention that Thursday.
Okay. To make a long story short,
Yes.
the charges were subsequently all dismissed.
Yes.
But you had to be transferred to a different location. You took a decrease in pay according to your papers. Is that
yes,
right?
What had happened is that they had pretty much put me in rover status, where I worked at certain assignments for the going price that they were paying.
So you earned
officers.
less, Mr.
Yes.
Thomas. You earned less. But you're suing her for $5,000, clearly much more than this. And the reason you're suing her for $5,000 is because you say she wrongfully made these accusations against you.
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. Ms. Lewis?
Yes.
Let me hear from you.
Well, Your Honor, first of all, we did work in the same building. When I met John, I told him from the beginning that I'm not looking for anyone. Okay, I moved out here from another state. I came out in January. I secured a job in February. Then we met, I think, in March. He would come up to me, give me candy, walk with me while I was on break, and I told him strictly that I just wanted a platonic friendship and nothing more. John continued to, everywhere I was, he seemed to automatically show up. He was a friend to me. You know, we went out a couple times to the movies. I never asked John for any help of any type of monetary source because I make 3 times more money than he makes, okay? I never asked John for any money. He insisted that he knew where I was staying at a motel downtown. I was happy with that. I knew I was going to stay there until I secured an apartment, which is what I did. But the reason he wanted me to move because he did not have access to me the way that he wanted access to me, because it was a security building and there was no visitors allowed in the building. So he suggested to me that I move to another motel in Culver City.
This is the first hotel that you were in?
This is the first hotel that I was at. This is the hotel I planned to stay at until I found my apartment. He knew I was looking for an apartment. He knew I was looking for a car. He went around and got numbers for apartments. Oh, you should move here. He even went to his complex, suggested I go there, and I decided the same day not to move there because he was...
Stop for a second.
Okay.
Sound like a very intelligent, together lady. Right? And you just told me that you were really happy with where you were staying, and you were going to stay there until you found a permanent apartment.
Right.
But you moved.
Right.
Into a different motel.
Right.
One that he was happier with.
Right. I moved.
Why?
Because it was closer to my job. Right now I had an hour-and-a-half commute from downtown to Westwood.
So?
And I decided to take his offer up because it was nicer, it was closer to my job.
Fine.
Okay.
And he laid out some money for you.
No, he did not. I was paying a certain weekly amount of rent by the week where I was. I had that money. Only thing he had to put with the money was another $40.
Whether it was $40 or 40 pennies.
Okay.
According to him, it was $250.88. According to you, it was $40. You just told me that you earned 3 times as much money as he did. Why in the world would you take $40 from him? Why?
Because I did not have the money at the time. I was between pay periods.
Judge Judy will continue in a moment.
I have a greeting card from her, and the title says, "To the man of my dreams."
Once I dreamed of someone special. Now I know that I was dreaming of you.
Real cases, real people. Judge Judy. John Thomas says his former friend Denise Lewis falsely accused him of sexual harassment. Denise says John is angry because their friendship never turned into romance.
Now, when did you make this report of sexual harassment?
After the week after I moved into my apartment.
Why?
Because he tried to force himself on me after we moved the refrigerator and the bedroom furniture into my apartment.
Well, tell me about that, madam.
Okay, after the things were moved into the apartment, he laid down on we put everything in the living room because I had to paint the bedroom. He laid down on the mattress and he called me in there and he threw me down on the mattress and started making sexual moves on me. And it took me about a couple minutes to push him off of me, and I asked him to leave.
And he left?
After some screaming and yelling, and yes, he did.
What kind of screaming and yelling?
I was screaming to get out of my apartment, that you don't live here.
And he left?
After some time, and he left when he got ready to leave.
So that's when you filed a complaint of sexual harassment against him?
Not only for that reason, was because the Saturday morning when he was supposed to come back and get the truck, I asked him to leave. We had an argument. I asked him to leave.
So you still had the truck?
The truck is still there. He has the keys to the truck.
Okay. So he said, so he had his car and he wanted you to help him take the truck back.
Right.
And what happened then?
I didn't open the door for him.
Why?
Because I was upset with him because of what he had tried to do. Okay, he never came to me and asked me to try and work things out, to try and say, okay, I owe you this money, let's try and make some type of arrangements. The next thing I knew, he had left a letter on the counter of where I work, and it was a bill for how much he assumed that I owe him.
So tell me when you made this allegation of sexual harassment, after you got the bill?
No, I made it like a few days later because he was calling and harassing me at work.
He was calling and asking you for what?
He was calling, he said he wanted to get together and talk. And I said, I don't want anything else to do with you because of your behavior, because you have been harassing me.
When did you make that statement to him?
I made it on Monday. And I asked him not to call me again, and that I will pay him his money.
So did you pay him the money?
No, I did not. Because
Why?
Because he kept harassing me.
Just a minute. Why didn't you pay him the money? Maybe if you paid him the money, he would stop harassing you. Maybe if you paid him the bill, he would feel as if he wasn't so used.
Yeah.
And then he would leave you alone.
Yeah, well, maybe if he had come to me as an adult and not someone threatening me with gang violence and I'm going to get the Bloods to kill you and this and that, maybe if would have come to me in an appropriate manner, I would have been more than happy to settle with him, just like I tried to call him 2 weeks ago. And I asked him, why did you file this lawsuit against me? And I said, can we come to some kind of agreement because I want this to go away? And his comment was, after several moments of silence, at 27 years old, was, you started it.
Well, Miss Lewis, you started it. Let me tell you something. I'm a woman, and I take allegations of sexual harassment in the workplace very seriously. But I resent it when women use allegations of sexual harassment as one-upmanship. And I'm telling you right now, the story that's coming through my head is an older lady with a lot more experience has a guy 5, 6 years younger than she is, who is clearly smitten with her. And what's coming out of her mouth is, no, no, yes, yes. No, no, yes, yes.
No.
You let him move you into another apartment? You're a smart lady. All you had to do was say, I'm happy where I am, John. I don't mind having coffee with you when we're here. You seem like a nice young man, but, you know, this is not a romantic thing. So you let him help you out once. And instead of doing the nice thing, the right thing, by totally cutting him off so that you fared him, you're not playing mind games with his head. You call him again when you need help. So he's saying to himself, she really likes me. I don't care what she says. She's letting me rent a truck with her and move her stuff into her apartment and help her place the furniture where it is. So clearly, she may be saying no, no, but her eyes are saying yes, yes.
Judge Judy will continue in a moment.
She strategically planned it to where I lost out on a promotion. I lost out on a raise.
Oh,
and you know,
from $5 to $7. Wow.
Real cases, real people. Judge Judy. Security guard John Thomas is suing Denise Lewis for defamation after she accused him of sexual harassment.
You're in your apartment. The furniture and the refrigerator are all set. Then you want no part of him. Well, he doesn't know that, so then he calls you and says, now I feel used, now I want my money. Your response was to file allegations of sexual harassment against him. I don't hear any sexual harassment, madam. He moved you into your apartment. He thought you were encouraging him. He left when you told him to leave. You may say you yelled and screamed, but I don't believe that there was any kind of attempted rape there. I don't believe that for 1 second. And your response was to try to injure him in his profession, which was a security guard. That's not fair.
Just because two people are friends does not mean that, okay, just because one party wants to go forward with a relationship and the other doesn't, that's not, I don't think that's encouraging.
Miss Lewis, you know that he wants romance and you don't. You don't use him.
He took advantage of me.
Oh, baloney.
He did. Oh. He knew that I lived out here by myself.
Nobody takes advantage of you, madam. I've known you for 5 minutes, and I can tell you right now, nobody takes advantage of you if you don't want that to happen. You took advantage of him. And the right thing to do was to let him know unequivocally from the beginning, this is not going anywhere, and not do anything to encourage him. Nothing to encourage him. And what you did was encourage him by continuing to allow him into your life. You have something you want me to hear? Is that why you brought that?
Yes, due to her statement, she says that she never made any attempt to encourage me or whatnot. Here I have a greeting card from her, dated April 4th, and the title says, "To the man of my dreams."
Can I see it?
So,
Just a minute. Show this to the defendant and tell her if that signature looks familiar to her.
Yes, it does. Uh-huh. This card was not intended for him.
Well, why don't you tell me how you got this card, sir?
She gave me the card around that time. This was the envelope that she gave it to me in.
Can I see it, please? Why don't you try to explain that to me, Miss Lewis? How did he come into possession of a card that wasn't meant for him? Why don't you try to tell me that?
He took it out of my briefcase when he was giving me a ride to work. That card was not intended for him.
Who was it intended for?
Someone else.
Someone else who also moved furniture?
No.
I don't believe you. I don't believe you. Once I dreamed of someone special, now I know that I was dreaming of you.
Judge Judy is ready to rule.
I have never been interested in him. You know, I'm not interested in overweight men.
You used him, Miss Lewis. And then in order to get rid of him, you filed a complaint against him for sexual harassment. Oh, yes, that's exactly what you did. And you injured him. You injured him in his job. You had him moved from his job. He suffered embarrassment. He suffered humiliation. And at least something else that I find equally as disturbing is we have finally reached a point in this country, at the end of this century, where we do not permit people of either sex to be sexually harassed in their workplace. And unfortunately, it's because of ladies like you that people look at these lawsuits and wonder if they are all real. That diminishes the real allegations of sexual abuse and of sexual harassment in the workplace. It's not supposed to be used as a hammer to solve all the problems that you have. It's supposed to be used sparingly and when it's true.
You don't know that it's not true?
Oh, I know that it's not true, madam. I know that you used him.
That's not true.
You used him. You knew he was smitten with you. You used him. And when you were finished with him and he wouldn't leave you alone, in order to get rid of him so that you didn't have to look at him anymore, you filed an allegation of sexual harassment against him that was ultimately investigated and dismissed because you have been reinstated, correct?
And it was not the first of its kind.
I haven't asked you about your history either. Right? Whether this is a modus operandi for you. We understand each other, Miss Lewis?
Your Honor, this is case number 310 on the calendar in the matter of Wilson Chadez versus Smith. Parties have been sworn in, Judge. You may be seated, sir.
Are you two folks married?
No.
Dating?
Yes.
Do you live together?
No.
I have co-complaints. One for $1,000 filed by you, the other $500 filed by you, and you are claiming that the defendant, while in the company of several others, assaulted you by throwing bottles which shattered on you.
Correct.
And the car.
And the car that you were in. And according to your complaint, sir, you were in a car with a lot of other people.
Yes, limo bus.
A bus. A limo bus. So why don't you first tell me about this limo bus, and then we'll get to what happened with it.
It was mine and my twin brother's 21st birthday, and we rented it so that all our friends could gather together, all go as one, no one would drink and drive, and then we'd go bar hopping.
And you did that?
Yes.
What time did you board this bus?
Approximately around 8.
And how many bars had you been to before you came on the plaintiffs?
1.
What time did this occur?
About 11:30.
You hit more than one bar between 8 and 11:30?
No, ma'am.
So you stayed in that bar for how long?
A couple hours.
Okay.
We also, we drove around. It's a nice bus. I mean, you like to spend time in it. It has a VCR, a sound system, everything like that. People can dance, walk around. It's very large.
And how many people were in this bus?
Approximately 25, give or take a few.
And you paid for the bus?
No.
And they...
Everyone pitched in the same amount, about approximately $20.
Now, you spent a couple of hours in a bar, one bar, you said. Is that right?
Yes.
So you made another stop or two on the way. Go to a liquor store?
Yes.
How many liquor stores did you go to?
Okay, we stopped off at a supermarket when we first entered the bus, got some alcohol, drinks, whatnot, went to the, went to the first bar, spent some time there, about an hour and a half, 2 hours, I don't know. And then we went to the next liquor store.
So you bought liquor twice?
Yes.
So everyone was pretty well blotto?
No.
Well, when we ran into the defendant here, they were pretty much intoxicated.
Well, why don't you tell me how, unfortunately, you came upon this birthday party?
Well, we had just come home from Barbara's parents' house. It was about 11:30 at night. The only entranceway into our house is through an alley. At that point, we were living together. Now we're not. There was a limo bus parked blocking the entire alleyway. It was parked illegally. People were outside of the bus urinating on the buildings, and they had open containers. We waited a few minutes. We honked, tried to get them to move up. They didn't comply. At that point, Barbara got out of the vehicle and asked one of the members to move.
Somebody that was outside of the bus?
Correct.
Where was the driver of the bus?
We were at the rear end of the bus. We approached the first person we saw.
The driver of the bus was in there the whole time.
Just a second. So you approached Barbara, the first person that you saw at the rear of the bus,
Yeah.
and said, could you please move?
Yeah, asked very politely, and he just slurred in my face and told me to screw off, go around, we're not doing it. And I just didn't know what to do and asked him to get out of the car, which he did.
Your Honor?
Sit. So did you
When
get out
when she entered the vehicle again, and I could tell that they told her no, I then got out of the car. Now, keep
What's
in
your
mind,
first name?
John.
John! My first issue with you, sir, is what?
Couldn't tell you.
Can you tell him?
I think so.
You came across a bunch of people that you saw outside urinating on buildings, John. You don't send your girlfriend out of the car to tell them to move. You get out of the car to tell them to move.
This was, we didn't see all this until we got out of the car, till both of us were out of the car.
I mean, I don't see late at night you going by yourself to this group of people.
There was a lot of girls, too, a lot of young girls around with them, too. I mean, it just looked like a bunch of partiers, so we didn't think anything of it. We asked politely. When they were rude and everything, that's when we just got back in our car and waited.
Who did you ask?
Hey, listen to me.
We never got off the bus. We never, my cousin, this is my cousin right
This
here.
is my witness.
And my teammate, and we never got off the bus ever.
Did I ask you a question?
Well, I can't stand listening to people laugh.
Just a second, did I ask you a question?
No, ma'am.
Go ahead.
When Barbara entered the vehicle, I got out of the vehicle, went up to the first person I saw and said, hey, this is the only way to get to our house. Can you please move up the bus? When I got out of the vehicle, of course, other members of the party came up. They see a guy coming out, automatically everybody's instincts comes into play, and then when they create a confrontation. As soon as he said no, I threw up my hands and said, okay. I mean, I'm not stupid. I'm not going to go up to a whole group of guys and pick a fight with them.
So what
Two
did
or
you
three,
do?
yeah, whole group, no. At that point, we got back in the vehicle and waited. This is a very busy street. We have a large police force that patrols the area. I figured, hey, we'll get in the car, a cop's going to come by. These people are going to get busted. They're plastered. No cop came by. We waited about 2-3 minutes. People started getting back in the bus. It pulled up. At that point, we said, great. Pulled into the alleyway, go up, I'd say, about 50 feet to our fence, which you have to get out of the car to unlock the padlock to get into our driveway. When I exited the car to unlock the gate, I heard, hey, you want to start something? I turned to my left. I saw a group of guys coming at me with bottles in hand. As soon as I saw this group approaching us, I turned to Barbara and I said, get in the car now. At that point, she looked at me, eye contact, a bottle flew right past her face. Hit the car, exploded. Dove into the car, and we gunned it. As soon as we slammed the doors, the back window shattered from a beer bottle. Okay, bottles, plural, lots of bottles. We immediately sped up. I mean, I don't know how we didn't hit nothing going down our alley, going that fast. Went directly to 7-Eleven down the road and called 911. At that point, the bus pulls by, stops at the red light. All the members on the left-hand side of the bus roll down their window and laugh at us while we're standing there calling the police.
Judge Judy continues in a moment.
This is going to be a more expensive birthday party than you thought. Much more expensive.
And later today,
His mother doesn't want him to have this car. He knew that, which is why he kept it a secret. You took advantage of him.
real cases, real people. Judge Judy. John Wilson and Barbara Chaydez say Quincy Smith and his pals harassed and threw beer bottles at them during a drunken bus ride. Quincy claims he's innocent and not responsible for his friend's actions.
So the windshield was shattered. The back windshield was shattered
Correct.
on your car. And who was hit with the glass?
I was barely missed by it, and it hit my car door and shattered all over me. I had to take a shower and take all my, totally change and everything because I had glass everywhere.
What was the damage to the car?
We have pictures.
We have
of the
pictures and
vehicle.
bills.
Now, once the police did arrive to come take our statement, they immediately got a priority call that there had been an altercation at a bar down the street, so they had to leave us. Well, it turns out the altercation was this member and his party had stopped at their next bar and assaulted 2 police officers.
Undercover cops or something. We don't know the whole story.
Okay, now I'll hear from you.
Okay, first of all, I'd like to say that I have empathy for the plaintiffs. What happened to was an awful thing. Should never happen to anyone. But I know for a fact they can't say I did it because I never even got off the bus. They can never pinpoint me out. I didn't get off the bus. I don't know what happened off the bus. I mean, even if the bus driver would have saw something, I mean, it was his responsibility to stay there.
Which bus company did you use?
It was, I believe it was called VIP limo buses.
Mm-hmm. When you called them, how many people did you say were going to be on the bus?
About approximately 25. You can get, the buses they have will fill 20 to 25, and I believe they even have one larger than that.
And when you called the bus company, did you have to reserve the bus with a credit card?
No.
When did you pay them?
You pay a deposit down,
Well,
and then
a deposit-
then when they arrive, you pay the rest.
Well, I'm asking you,
Okay.
did you pay the deposit in cash or a credit card?
Check.
A check?
Yes.
Yours or your brother's?
Mine.
Yours.
Mm-hmm.
So let me understand this, Mr. Smith.
Okay.
You rented the bus.
Yes.
You, sir, are absolutely right that these people can, in all probability, not say who it was who threw a bottle other than the group. Is that right?
That's correct.
That doesn't make you not responsible for this incident, sir.
It didn't even happen on the bus that I was responsible for.
Oh, it happened, sir.
It happened,
with
yes.
people. It happened with people that you invited to celebrate your birthday on a bus. You are still, sir, responsible for the behavior of those people. You, because somebody is guilty and somebody is innocent. Now, they don't know who it is, but you, who arranged this party, are responsible for their losses because you are in the unique position, sir, if you are not drunk, to know who in that party got off the bus and who in that party actually damaged their property and attempted to assault them with what I consider a deadly instrument, which is a heavy beer bottle.
So,
not them. They're not in that unique position to know. You are.
So I'm responsible for everyone on the bus,
Every single person.
on the bus, and off.
Every single.
Everyone who was also an adult.
Every single person that was partying with you at your birthday party, sir. You
I
hired
don't know.
the bus.
I never got off the bus. I don't know.
Doesn't make any difference, sir.
It does to me.
This is going to be a more expensive birthday party than you thought. Much more expensive. Now, you have something that you believe is meaningful to this case that you wish to contribute?
Yeah, I do, Your Honor.
Sure.
First of all,
Step up right there.
Okay, I'm sorry. My cousin and myself never got off the bus at any point. And
Didn't you understand what I just said?
I don't know how you can expect him to keep track of 25 people.
He invited them to his bus.
So how is he supposed to keep track of it if they're all adults?
If he can't keep track of them, then he shouldn't have invited them. And if they didn't do anything wrong, then he wouldn't be standing here today, sir.
Judge Judy is ready to rule. And later today,
He had it for a week and a half. He's blown the motor in it now. What good is it to me?
When you deal with a minor, you deal with a minor at your own risk.
real cases, real people. Judge Judy.
He invited them to come on board for a drinking evening. He is therefore responsible for everything that transpires during the course of that evening. And one of the things that transpired was these people were put in fear of their lives. And if he wishes to turn around and do some detective work and try to figure out who it was that got off the bus and threw bottles at them and smashed their cars,
I hope he would.
That's no, you.
No, I
Not
hope he
them.
would. My cousin doesn't want to be here. Do you think if he knew who did it, he would be taking the blame for this?
Well, then he should have been more selective about who he invited on the bus. And he should have seen to it that once the people on the bus started to drink a little too much and started to get a little out of control, he said to the bus driver, who he had hired, because you remember, he sent the check, he hired the bus. These people are a little too unruly. You better take us home because I don't know what's going to happen with them. You, sir, between these innocents and you, you're responsible. Judgment in this case is for one plaintiff in the amount, Barbara, in the amount of $1,000, and you, sir, the amount of $500 as requested. That's all.
Thank you, Your Honor.
Thank you.
Parties are excused. You may step out. There you go. Sorry. Out the back door to your right, please.
These people do deserve money, but I believe I'm not the one responsible for it. I think I would have been much better off using a different defense, like the bloody glove defense. This is just ridiculous.
And now the next case.
All parties on Schramm Snyder versus Blankenship. Step forward, please.
Bookkeeper Vera Schramm says her neighbor, 29-year-old Marcy Blankenship, ripped off her 15-year-old son Toby when she sold him a car that doesn't run.
How old are you?
I'm 15.
You went and bought a car from the defendant.
Yes.
Did you tell your parents?
No.
Why?
Because I thought they'd say no.
How much did you pay for this car?
$400.
Where'd you get the money from?
My bank account.
When did you find out that he had bought the car?
Almost a week later on November 4th.
You're his mother?
Yes.
Tell me how you found out that he bought the car.
I had called his friend's house to see if he was there. And while I was on the phone, the other parent said, by the way, I'm a little concerned about what we're going to do with Toby's car. I said, car? What do you mean car? Like vehicle? He says, oh yeah, it's parked out on the street, and what are we going to do for street sweeping day? I said, didn't know anything about it. Where did he get it? How long has he had it? So of course we went right over and visited the car and the parents, and I got the paperwork.
Now, you were keeping this a secret?
Yes.
How old were you when you bought the car?
15.
How did you find this car?
I was walking home from my friend's house and I just saw it on the street.
They have a for sale sign?
Yes.
How much were they asking for the car?
$700.
So you paid $400?
Yes.
Who drove the car to where it was ultimately parked?
We pushed it because it didn't run.
How far did you have to push it?
Like 6 or 7 blocks.
Did you ever move the car?
Oh, yeah, and we pushed it to the mechanic. Because she said all it needed was a tune-up, so we pushed it because it was right by his house.
Did you get it tuned up?
Yes.
How much did that cost you?
$55.
And then what happened with the car?
Still didn't run because we took it and we got we got it checked and stuff, and it said that one of the cylinders was bad, so.
What'd your mother say when she found out you bought this car?
She was real mad. And then she put me on punishment.
Where'd you get this $400 from? Did you work for the money?
I went to work in the summer with my dad.
So, you sold him a car.
Yes, I did.
Did you ask him how old he was?
No, I didn't.
Doesn't look 18 to me.
He knew about the car. He phoned 3 times on the car. He came by inquiring about the car twice. I asked him if the first night he came by if he wanted to drive it or if he wanted to leave me a deposit, and I would be more than happy to take the for sale signs off of it. He said no, he didn't have his wallet with him. So I figured he didn't want to drive it because he didn't have his license with him, and that was fine. I showed him the car in and out. I started it up for him and everything, and he didn't have a problem with it. He said it was perfect. He'd be back the next day to please not sell it.
How come I ask you if he doesn't look 18 and you give me this whole long story? Doesn't look 18 to me. Now, you may not know this, but I'm going to tell you now. You cannot enter into a contract with a minor because they're not always so clever. So that's why we have laws that protect minors from entering into contracts. So you have to give him his money back.
He had it for a week and a half. He's blown the motor in it now. What good is it to me?
Judge Judy continues in a moment. Vera Schramm is suing Marcy Blankenship because she sold her 15-year-old son Toby a car that doesn't run. Marcy claims she didn't know Toby was a minor.
When you deal with a minor, you deal with a minor at your own risk. Anybody who has half an eye can see that this young man is not the age of majority. You took advantage of him. I believe that you took advantage of him. And you can't do that. So you owe him $400. Sir, you paid $55 to have the car tuned up?
Yes, ma'am.
You're going to have to eat that.
Yes, ma'am.
That's a form of punishment. I'm sure your mother has something else planned for you if she hasn't already conjured up the appropriate punishment, including, at 15 years old, would seem to me, requiring somebody else to sign off if he wants to go take money out of the bank.
Absolutely. That's a lesson to be learned.
Mm-hmm. Sure is.
Mm-hmm.
So, Judge...
Judge, this is case number 316 on the calendar in the matter of Flores versus Smith. Parties have been sworn in. Judge, you may be seated. Have a seat, please.
Miss Flores, your mother died suddenly. How old was she when she died?
73.
And you claim at the time of her death, the defendant owed her money. And why she gave him money?
Okay. At the time of her death, we went through her financial matters, and with her checkbook and her bank statements was her ledger. My mom was a bookkeeper for 45 years. My mom would not just knowingly give him a gift and write it down. I mean, if she gave a gift, she would not write it down. So
you can't go in somebody else's head.
That's correct.
Even if they're no longer here.
Right.
So you found her ledger.
Yes, I did. And with this ledger, I found his name. Yes, I did. And with this ledger, I found his name, Donald Smith, of which I didn't know. I knew of him, but I've never met him before.
How did you know of him?
By my daughter, Tammy. Tammy had gone to dinner with them one evening. And my mom paid for dinner, which Tammy thought was kind of strange. Anyway, from there, from
Not
dinner,
in the 90s.
Okay, giving him money to gamble. And Tammy goes, well, that's kind of strange. When she came back home, she said, something strange is going on here. I said, what do you mean? She said, well, he's taking money from her. Well, I mean, I didn't think anything about that till I found the ledger saying that there were bills incurred for Don. Doctor bills, loans to Don, more doctor bills, Mervin's charge cards. Also, she had just recently purchased you furniture, of which my mother also calls Mervin's charge cards. Also, she had just recently purchased you furniture, of which my mother also kept a daily log of telephone calls that were made to him, saying whether he called, whether he didn't call. It seemed like when he had his appointments, he would call her. She would also take him to work on a daily basis, which was like across town. They live in Las Vegas. She lives on the east side of town. He lives in North Las Vegas. So it was quite a commute for her.
So what?
And
I mean, what does that mean to you, Miss Flores?
I mean that he was constantly calling and asking her to do things for him.
So what? Was there anything wrong with your mother's mind?
There wasn't at the time of her death, not that I know of.
And she was 73 years old, which today is not an old person.
Right. She was killed in a car accident. She hit a tree.
So let's just talk about the money that she gave him to go gambling, when they were out to pay for. That's really none of your business.
That is correct.
So, and I assume that you don't suggest that you're looking to recoup that money from him.
Absolutely not. Only what was borrowed.
Well, so that what I'd like you to do is to show me, because that's primarily what I'm going to look at.
Right, it's right here. Also, here are credit card bills, of which it says Dawn owes for these, that were in her ledger. And here also is the furniture that she had purchased a month before she died.
Well, who wrote Dawn owes for that?
My mother.
Let me see.
Okay. Any and all transactions. Okay.
Okay. What was your mother's name?
Helen Roy.
She was a client, a steady client, and I did her hair.
Any and all transactions. Okay.
Okay. What was your mother's name?
Helen Roy.
She was a client, a steady client, and I did her hair. And struck up a friendship, and after I graduated, she just followed me. I still did her hair in the salons I was at, and the friendship still developed from there. She didn't talk to her kids a lot, and I didn't have any family.
That is not true. I'm telling you, that's not. Here are my phone bills.
Listen to me.
Okay.
He was quiet. Now you have to be quiet.
All right.
From what she told me, she didn't have the best relationship with him because they had owed her money. She had loaned them $10,000 to get their house years ago and had never even attempted to pay her back, and they did have a contract with her. So that made a gap between them. She did take me to work if I needed. She made sure.
I'm not concerned about her taking you to work, sir. I'm not concerned.
She did take me to work if I needed. She made sure.
I'm not concerned about her taking you to work, sir. I'm not concerned about her taking you to dinner. This is a lady who, I assume, was a little lonely, and she found your company appealing, and she wanted to spend her money on you. That's her business.
Judge Judy will continue in a moment.
I didn't have any family growing up. She showed me what a nice a grandmother and a mother was.
Aww.
Real cases, real people. Judge Judy. Neilani Flores is suing her late mother's hairdresser, Donald Smith, for loans he never repaid.
Miss Flores, I'm looking, is one page that you're talking about?
The 2 pages,
well,
yes.
These 2 pages.
Yes.
And the others clearly indicate bills incurred for Dawn.
Correct.
That doesn't necessarily, madam, convince me that those were loans. Clearly indicate bills incurred for Dawn.
Correct.
That doesn't necessarily, madam, convince me that those were loans. You know, when you give money to somebody, especially, I can imagine a situation where you are mentality, you want to keep track of how much money you gave to somebody just for your own head. I mean, how many times do I wake up in the morning and I want to know how much money I have in my savings account and my checking account and how much money I gave to this church? That particular person has cost me that year. Do you understand? It could just as easily have been that's
correct.
$450 according to your mother. He still owes her $400 from this. Now, this piece of paper that it looks as if it's written in the same hand.
That is her writing, yes.
Right. Mm-hmm. But there is also no owes her $400 from this. Now, this piece of paper that it looks as if it's written in the same hand.
That is her writing, yes.
Right. Mm-hmm. But there is also no indication that this was a loan.
Right, that's correct. But if the money wasn't owed, she wouldn't have written it down.
I don't know that. I think that you have a difficult time. 6.
Of which we're still paying the bills for her, yes.
Okay.
His clothing receipts. There were many more receipts that weren't included.
Just a second. I'm looking for her handwriting on here, because I do see one, and it seems to match the handwriting in her book, in her ledger, on this credit card.
There's several Mervyn's receipts for men's clothing, of which are for him.
Well, just a second. You have to understand something, madam. What I just said to you was, there are certain things that clearly your mother had denoted as loans, O's, loans.
And all of this.
And certain things on which there are no notes.
They were all included in that book, though, Your Honor. You know, pinned inside together. The
I only
credit
see
card
one note
receipts.
of hers.
Right, they were all pinned inside. Paper clipped inside.
What?
There were also
What I think she's trying to say is that my mother-in-law was keeping track of the bills and anything she had spent on them, and that what she's trying to say is that those look like they were all incurred as a loan to him.
Looks like is not a loan.
Okay.
Sir. Looks like is not a loan.
Okay.
Telling me?
Yes.
They
But
weren't
clearly,
gifts, Donald.
Miss Flores, don't talk to Miss Flores. Don't
That's
talk
what's
to him.
wrong with the elderly,
Don't-
though. That's how they're getting ripped off.
Miss Flores, sometimes you're absolutely right. And sometimes a lady who is 73 years old, living far away from her family, a couple of times a week. Is that a fair statement?
Correct.
If she has to pay for some companionship by buying a present or by giving a shirt or by buying furniture, unfortunately, that happens. And then when there is a tragedy like this, the family feels as if, guarantee you, she didn't feel as if she was being taken advantage of. She was having a good time. Did your step up here. You went out to dinner and you went gambling with your grandmother and the defendant?
Yes, I did.
Did your grandmother look like she was having a good time?
Sure.
Right. How many times did you go gambling with your grandmother?
Every time I went up there.
Well, how often was that?
Once every couple months. Whenever I made it up to Vegas, I'd go.
So once every couple of months, you took Grandma out for a spin.
Yes,
How many
I
times
did.
did you go gambling with Grandma?
Usually once a week.
I took Grandma. Grandma didn't take me.
Just a thing. It's her money.
Judge Judy will continue in a moment.
As you can see, she started out with $35,000 in the bank. 2 years later, she depleted her savings. You make me nauseous. If this camera went on, I swear to God, my dad would knock out, and I swear to God.
Real cases, real people. Judge Judy. Neilani Flores is suing her late mother's hairdresser, Donald Smith, claiming he swindled her out of thousands of dollars before she died.
You're not responsible for your mother's debts. You know darn well that you're not under the law. So if you have to pay out any money for her, it's being paid out of her money.
What money? There's no money left.
Then if there's no money left, madam, then you don't have to pay anymore because children and grandchildren are not liable for the debts of their parents. I'm certain that your lawyer told you that. This is her money. If she wants to go gambling with him and give him money 5 nights a week because that makes her happy, it may not be smart, it may not be preserving her estate, but she's lonely and she's not going to live for every 2 months while when her granddaughter decides to come up and pay her a visit and take her out to dinner and gambling. That doesn't mean he's necessarily a nice person. I'm not even suggesting that to you. And I'm not suggesting that he didn't take advantage of her. He probably did.
I think so, too.
Absolutely.
I know. Why not?
A lot of people take advantage of the elderly.
That's sad.
Well, it is sad. However, it made her happy.
Why was she paying his rent if he had a job?
It made your grandmother happy. If she didn't want to do it, she wouldn't have done it. She was of sound mind, and if she had to pay for an occasional escort, which is what he was, and he said that they were really good friends. Bull. However, if she had to pay for it so that she had company a couple of times a week, that made her happy. Why are you complaining now?
Because we're paying for his bills.
No, you're not. What do you mean you're paying?
Because in the will, it stated my mom is the executor of the will. So any monies be paid out for any of her expenses be paid out of that. So we did that.
What's your first name?
Tammy.
Are you dumb?
No, I'm not.
Well, then let me tell you something. What you're saying to me is I try to explain it to you. Because your mother is the executrix of your grandmother's will, she does not have to go to her bank account, her personal bank account, and pay 1 sou for your grandmother's debts. The only money that can be used to pay for your grandmother's debts is your grandmother's money, which is not your money, no matter what you think.
It is not your money. There may not be anything left for you after you pay the debts, but you three people do not have to dig into your own. It was your grandmother's money, and she could do whatever she diddly pleases with it, and it pleased her. It gave her a certain amount of pleasure to sport him around. I don't know why, but it did. Now that I've taken care of that area, now I talk to you. There were certain things clearly here that she indicated you owed her.
Nothing that she gave, it was all gifts.
That's not true. That's clearly not true.
If it was as a loan, there would have been a contract made that I would have signed.
Are you kidding me? Are you kidding me?
No, I'm not. The 450 was I was in between jobs and she helped me out with the rent. I paid back the first payment of 40, and when I gave her that 40, she looked at me and says, that's all I wanted to know was that you made the effort. She was forget about the rest.
Well, but that's not what it says here. That was a loan. Because that's what she is about this furniture. How'd you get the furniture?
That was delivered to me, my understanding, as a housewarming and a birthday present. I moved into a house I'm renting with my companion. It was a month of my birthday also. She wanted to go to a furniture store. She was asking me what I liked.
I can understand buying you...
After I'd moved in, what I had picked...
some clothes. I can understand taking you out to dinner. I can understand even giving you some gambling money when you go out. I don't have a problem with that. They may have a problem with $1,379 for furniture for you and your companion.
That was her choice. It was not asked of her. That's what she wanted to do.
No, I don't believe that. I don't believe that. That doesn't sit right with me. You have two men who live together, both employed, and there comes a point where certain things she wants to buy you, some clothes, she wants to take you out for dinner, she wants to make sure she has some company. But then there comes a point when it's sort of sickening. This is sort of sickening.
Why?
Why?
That was her choice. We didn't ask. I didn't ask.
I don't believe you. Did you just happen to be home when the furniture was delivered?
No, I was at work. I had to go home. No, I did not know it was going to be delivered that day.
You're full of baloney.
She also paid
Called me and I had to go down.
That didn't answer my question. It's not marked alone.
Judge Judy is ready to rule.
You're never going to recoup all the money that you gave him. It's not going to happen. But you should have at least some comfort in knowing that your mother had a good time. She did. She had some young people around her that made her feel good. Your mom didn't call an escort service and said, send me somebody to have a good time with. They treated her nicely. They showed her a good time. They probably better than going by herself to a casino. You know that that's true. And they took financial advantage of her. It's been happening for ages. But you don't recoup that. Unless there's some clear indication or some common sense, like with this furniture. Shirts and stuff like... God. Okay. There are certain things that are clearly marked as loans. I'm counting up only those things, and I am including in it the furniture.
Okay.
Because you're sitting on it, you're sleeping on it, you're going to pay for it. And all those things together come to $2,104 judgment for the plaintiff. That's all.
Thank you.
Parties are excused. You may step out.
Judge Judy will continue in a moment. And on the next Judge Judy.
He made her feel like they were friends. The woman never bought herself furniture in 20 years. She turns around and gives this guy $1,700 worth. Not going to happen.
And she sat on it and she slept on it too.
Oh, yeah, sure she did.
You are. You are so stupid.
Oh, you know me so well. I never want to see you again, and I wish to God I never saw you in the first place. And now I know why she stayed away from you for so long.
Dad, don't even go there. There will be justice for the elderly that they're constantly preyed on like people like you.
Bocock, step forward, please.
27-year-old receptionist Sandra Bocock is suing her father, Bob, for money owed to the state for child care of her 9-year-old daughter, Jessica.
All rise. Yeah, this is case number 2. Yep. Sir, have a seat.
Who are you, sir?
Herb Shavers.
You're a lawyer.
Yes.
I just wanted to make sure because I've read all of these papers. This is your father.
Yes.
Your mother?
Yes.
Ms. Bocock, according to your complaint, you are suing your father for money that you owe to the state.
Yes.
Came about because several years ago, your daughter, who was quite young, was removed from your care, according to all the papers and documents that I've read, for child support.
Yes.
Quite young, was removed from your care, according to all the papers and documents that I've read, for child support.
Yes.
And that care for about a year, a little less than a year, and then went into your parents' home. Correct?
Reasonably close, yes, ma'am.
How many years was the child with you?
About 6.
And for part of that time, she was with you as a foster child,
Yes, ma'am.
which meant that you were getting money from the state as a foster parent.
Yes, ma'am.
That's the way things work these days, even if you're a grandparent. And then you were told that you had to file for either custody or guardianship of the child, and you consented to your parents having guardianship.
I did not give my parents guardianship. I would never see my daughter again. She would go up for adoption. I would never see her again. I was not given a choice.
Doesn't make much of a difference. There's only one innocent in this case, and that innocent is this child.
True.
Make much of a difference. There's only one innocent in this case, and that innocent is this child.
True.
I mean, you made certain choices. You were told that she would be removed permanently if you let her have any contact with this man, and according to the papers that I read, you let her speak to him on the phone. She was just a little girl, and then you moved back in with him because you had some financial problems.
That's not true.
Well, according to the papers that I've read, Miss Bocock, your little girl was assaulted by this man. She was taken to the hospital. Bruises were noted. You were told at the time that the man had to be out of the house before you could get your daughter back. Correct?
That's correct.
To make a long story short, the child was with you, and there was a period of time when you had guardianship of the child.
Yes, ma'am.
After she had lived with you for several years as a foster child, and you began receiving welfare for her
AFDC, yes, ma'am.
to the tune of about $2,000. As the rules of the state are, parents are responsible for the support of their children. So the state pursued you for this welfare money.
Correct.
And you say that there was some sort of an arrangement with your father that he would pay this amount.
Yes.
He says that there was not, the amount wasn't paid, your driver's license was suspended, and your credit ruined.
Yes.
So why don't you tell me about the arrangement with your father?
On June 15th, at the last guardianship hearing,
look at me.
He knew that I had received the summons. I was being sued by the state for the welfare money, for the $2,392. He pulled me aside just before the last hearing and said, I will take care of this matter. I know you can't pay for it. I will take care of it. My lawyer at the time was standing right next to me. I'm a student. I'm a mom. I'm struggling. It's very difficult. It's not that I don't want to pay it back, but he promised to take care of it for me as a pledge. I'm nearly completion of my 2-year degree in biology, so I'm very close now, but it's very difficult. I'm financially very strained right now.
So you want to pay the money back because it's your loan.
Right.
It's your debt.
Right, but he promised to take care.
Let me hear your side of this, sir.
Well, ma'am, at no time have I ever said to anyone that I would pay this money either to her or for her. I did have a conversation after one of the guardianship hearings with her lawyer, Mr. Shavers, in which I asked him if he could get me information, a name of the district attorney and the phone number to talk to the person, because if you try and call in the district attorney's office, you get the royal runaround unless you have a case number. Because I had some things I want to discuss with him. What I didn't tell him at the
Were you taking the money from the state because you needed it for your granddaughter, sir?
No. We could have supported her without it. In fact, most of the period of the guardianship, we didn't even know that we were eligible to receive it. It was a previous caseworker that said that we could receive that money, and in fact, it went for her daycare.
So how long did you have her in your custody without receiving any support?
I would say in the...
Step up, sir.
Your Honor, if
Yes.
I may, at any time during this whole guardianship issue, they knew that they could return my daughter to me with no strings attached. They
Well,
could
Ms.
return
Bocock,
her.
I don't believe that that's absolutely true.
I was absolutely willing to pay every cent to take care of her. I've never had a problem with that. But he promised to pay this amount. He said that he...
A problem. Let me tell you what they are, madam.
Judge Judy continues in a moment.
My parents are lying, selfish people. I wanted him to honor his word this one time.
Real cases, real people. Judge Judy. Sandra Bocock is suing her father Bob for money owed to the state for child care of her 9-year-old daughter Jessica. Bob and his wife Barbara claim they looked after the little girl for 6 years and aren't responsible for the money.
If you wanted your daughter back, and you say there was no impediment to you getting your daughter back, and you were no stranger to the family court, I'm not talking about a parakeet.
I understand.
We're talking about a child.
I understand.
You understand that the child was removed from your care for cause by the family court, and the cause was neglect, because they only place children in foster care unless you voluntarily... America, sir, they do not remove children from parents without cause. Is that a fair statement?
Let me say this, that I've been involved in several cases where the issue of cause was at best in question, never substantiated.
That's why you're not the judge. That's why if the judge determines there's cause, a lawyer doesn't second guess them. I don't care what your view of the evidence was. The state cannot remove a child from a parent unless the parent voluntarily places that child or there is cause. So don't give me a lot of baloney. I've been in this business much longer than you have, sir. And that was my specialty. So if it's not yours, it was mine for 25 years. Now, you want to tell me your recollection of the conversation with Mr. Bocock?
There were two distinct and different conversations. One occurred in the hallway of the court following the hearing on June 15th. That conversation was involving Mr. Bocock, his attorney, the attorney for the minor as well, negotiations going back and forth.
Child had a lawyer.
Correct.
Child's always had a lawyer. They're called a law guardian, correct?
That's right, ma'am.
And the child should be returned to the mother, correct?
Not at that point, no. The discussion was...
That custody would be given back to Sandy, so all at once we're cold-cocked with this idea that there had been an agreement at the attorney's level that custody would be given back to Sandy. So all at once we're cold-cocked with this idea that we bring Jessica and she takes her home. And we
so
just
you wanted more of a transition, correct?
It was, except for his comment that it was a surprise to them, came as quite a surprise to the counsels involved. We normally work these things out before we appear at court, so the reluctance that was expressed was quite surprising to us.
Well, it's not surprising to me because according to your former client, grandfather of the child, he said what he wanted was a transition so that the child could at least finish. Sir?
Yes, ma'am.
That strikes you as being odd?
The fact...
The grandfather who's had custody of this child for 6 years says, listen, it's June 15th, school is over June 30th. You know, we need 2 weeks, and aside from the fact she's in school. That strike you as being peculiar, sir?
In view of the facts of the time, the fact that we've been discussing the transition for about 6 to 8 months before then, yes.
It did strike you as being odd.
We've been
That's
working,
odd. Doesn't strike me as being odd to wait 2 weeks until school is over. You have children?
Yes, I do.
Give me a break. All right, so now we're past that. Now we're down to money. Let me hear the conversation about the money.
We had been discussing for months the return of the child to the mother. It was obvious that the grandparents, because of the timing that they had applied for the AFDC payments, was already after the time that we had already discussing returning the child to the mother.
Mm-hmm.
There's not an issue of financial need on behalf of the grandparents. It was a matter of timing. At the hearing, the grandfather stated that he would handle the AFDC payments.
Just a second. What you heard is, I will handle it.
The exact verbiage, I'm unsure. What I recall is handle it or words to that effect.
Okay, so you're not as sure what the words were.
Not
Thank
the
you. You can have a
exact
seat.
word. There was another conversation.
Give me the other conversation.
The other conversation in context. Following the hearing on the 15th, I hand-carried all the court documents from the AFDC payments to Mr. Bocock's attorney the following day, confirmed the fact that Mr. Bocock was willing to handle the AFDC payments, and
Confirmed with whom?
confirmed to his attorney in the letter that I sent.
Just a second. You sent a letter to the attorney.
Correct.
You have a letter from the attorney to you confirming
No, I do
that?
not. No, I do not
Okay.
have a letter disputing it either.
He doesn't have to dispute it. You have a letter you sent to him and say, here, your client says...
Received a letter back promptly.
I mean, this is a court, sir. You're a lawyer. You know.
Based on my extensive dealings with his attorney, had that statement been incorrect, I would have received a letter back promptly.
I mean, this is a court, sir. You're a lawyer. You know, you can't rely on that. You sent him a letter. Here, your client said he would take care of this, and he says, what, is he crazy? Takes him and throw in the garbage. You think that he has an obligation to respond to you? He has no legal obligation to respond to you.
But he did, in fact, respond.
How? Let me see.
The response was in the form of a conversation.
That's hearsay.
I understand
With the
that,
attorney.
but it's also
Just a
operative
second.
fact.
With the attorney, not with him.
No, I had a conversation with Mr. Bocock.
Tell me about your conversation with Mr. Bocock, not a conversation that you had with an attorney.
Why did she move away to be with the man who actually is on record of having beat Jessica?
I was emotionally abandoned as a child. Of course I'm going to go seeking emotional comfort from somebody else.
Real cases, real people. Judge Judy. Sandra Bocock says her father should be responsible to pay the state money owed for childcare of her 9-year-old daughter, Jessica. Bob Bocock says he took care of Jessica for 6 years and should not be held responsible for the money.
Tell me about your conversation with Mr. Bocock.
He told me to, if I would get the amount due that he had received, he would pay for that. He would reimburse that amount.
Did you ever say that to him, sir?
No, ma'am, I never did. I have a copy of the letter that I sent to my attorney
Can I see the copy of the letter
in
that you
response
sent?
to the letter that he had hand-delivered to her.
Let me tell you, I've seen this. I saw this letter. Have you seen this letter?
No, I've not.
Let me show it to you, sir. Evidently, there was some sort of a miscommunication. He said his concern was that they were asking her for more money than the child actually received from AFDC, and that the conversations that he had had with both you and his attorney dealt with the fact that he didn't understand why they were seeking more from his daughter than his granddaughter actually received from the state. All right. Listen to me very carefully, Miss Bocock. How old are you?
27.
You made a baby, right?
Yes.
You made a baby at a time that you had no right to make a baby, that you weren't prepared to take care of a baby. But for the fact that your parents took your daughter out of foster care and agreed to become foster parents to this child, there is a very strong probability, based on the fact that this child was out of your care, that your social worker was absolutely correct, that the state would have moved in a proceeding to terminate your parental rights and free the child for adoption. There is no question about that. And you are an intelligent young woman. And how long has she been in your care?
2.5 years.
So for the first 7 years of her life, you supported her with nothing.
I gave her love and emotional support, which is more than they gave her.
No. She was in foster care for a year, which means some strangers gave her love and affection. And then she lived with your mother and father, who were up with her during the night, who wiped her nose when she...
Your Honor, yes, I did live there for a couple months.
I'm not talking about a couple of months, madam.
Okay.
How long
Your
did your daughter live with your parents?
I don't remember the exact years. She lived with her for a number of years. But why did I end up pregnant at 17? The emotional and physical abuse in that home is unimaginable.
You better stop blaming other... Listen to me. You better stop blaming other people for your life's travails, madam.
I'm not.
Oh, yes, you are. Your father didn't make you pregnant. There are lots of ways to get away from a bad situation. Having a baby is not one of them. There are other avenues. To make a long story short, what the state is now asking you for is $2,000. And they're saying, over the years, the state of California has probably spent
$150,000 in foster care payments and administrative fees for your daughter. We're not seeking to recoup that from you now that you're back on your feet. We're seeking to recoup $2,000 from you. That doesn't sound like a lot if you make a baby. $2,000 over 9 years doesn't keep a child in shoes.
Judge Judy continues in a moment.
Ms. Bocock, get your act. And you can work out some sort of a system with the state to take care of this $2,000 that you owe them.
Your Honor.
Yeah.
I have paperwork. Last week, I received papers that they were going to garnish my wages.
Good!
Take my driver's license.
Just a second. Good.
Okay.
They
Within
can
the
garnish your wages, and then you know that 10% of your wages are going to go to pay back the obligation. Know that 10% of your wages are going to go to pay back the obligation. Condoning, Mr. Bocock, the fact that you didn't really have a need for the money, and yet you took money from the state to support your grandchild. And I say that because even though the law gives you the right to do that, I always felt as if you didn't have a need for that and this was your blood, you should do it yourself. But between the two of you, you've got to pay for your child. Not him. It's not his obligation. It's your obligation. So, your lawsuit against your father is dismissed. That's all.
Parties are excused. You may step out.
Judge Judy continues in a moment. And on the next Judge Judy.
If she were so concerned about the emotional and physical well-being of her daughter, why did she move 450 miles away to be with her boyfriend who had physically abused her daughter?
I was emotionally abandoned as a child. Of course I'm going to go seeking emotional comfort from somebody else. That doesn't take a psychologist.
She is still with him. We don't know why.
That's all I wanted, was him to honor his word for once in his life. He has never made a promise that he's kept. He's broken promises my whole life. That's all I wanted.
Video này thì sẽ chia sẻ cho bố mẹ về một cái loại sữa có tên gọi là sữa Blackmore. Blackmore số 1 dành cho trẻ sơ sinh. Sản phẩm, khi nhắc đến sữa cho trẻ sơ sinh từ 0 cho đến 6 tháng tuổi thì không thể bỏ qua cái sản phẩm sữa Blackmore. Đây là một cái sản phẩm sữa của Úc dành cho trẻ từ 0 cho đến 6 tháng tuổi. Loại sữa này có chứa tới 20 thành phần và 25 loại dưỡng chất, hỗ trợ trẻ nhỏ phát triển toàn diện trong giai đoạn đầu đời. Về thành phần và công dụng của sữa Blackmore số 1 thì sữa Blackmore có chứa rất là nhiều chất béo, chất đạm hỗ trợ cho trẻ tăng cân và phát triển tốt nhất. Canxi, vitamin D, magie, phosphor phát triển hệ xương và bảo vệ răng cho trẻ. Bổ sung chất chống oxy hóa giúp tăng cường hệ miễn dịch và sức đề kháng. Sữa có FOS giúp giảm nguy cơ tiêu chảy, táo bón và nhiễm trùng đường ruột. Bổ sung được cái thành phần DHA, ARA, sắt, iốt giúp cho não bộ phát triển và thị giác tốt. Ưu điểm của cái dòng sữa Blackmore này thì sản phẩm được sản xuất trên cái quy trình khép kín, kiểm định nghiêm ngặt về chất lượng, đảm bảo an toàn cho trẻ. Sữa có hương vị ngọt thanh, dễ uống, mùi vani thơm ngon, kích thích được vị giác của trẻ sơ sinh. Và sữa chứa rất là nhiều dưỡng chất cần thiết, tốt cho sự phát triển của trẻ nhỏ trong giai đoạn đầu đời. Giá thành thì cũng tương đối vừa phải, nó chỉ dung tích lớn, sử dụng được khá lâu nên phù hợp với rất là nhiều gia đình. Bên cạnh những ưu điểm thì loại sữa này cũng có rất là nhiều nhược điểm. Ví dụ như là chỉ có duy nhất hộp 900g, không có hộp nhỏ nên khá bất tiện khi muốn mang theo ra ngoài. Hoặc là đối với những bạn mà chưa dùng quen sữa này mà muốn hoặc là các cháu uống ít thì việc dùng cái hộp sữa 900g nó sẽ lãng phí, bởi vì sữa chỉ mở ra trong vòng 1 tháng là không sử dụng nữa rồi. Chưa có nhiều hương vị, chỉ có một hương vị tự nhiên nên hạn chế sự lựa chọn theo sở thích của bé. Vậy thì nó có rất nhiều những cái hạn chế, bên cạnh những ưu điểm cũng có rất là nhiều hạn chế, đúng không ạ? Thì bố mẹ lại phải căn cứ vào cái nhu cầu phát triển của con mình để xem là có lựa chọn cái sữa này hay là không.